Chapter 1474. In the Galaxy in the Void. Although Long Yu wasn't around, Concubine Yu, Xiao Bai, Shui Luo, and the others were there to oversee things. Everything was going smoothly, and there wasn't the slightest chaos. When he returned through the space-time tunnel, Shui Luo was waiting for him at the other end of the space-time tunnel. His eyes lit up when he saw that it was Long Yu. "Ha, you're finally back. I thought you'd only come back after the end of the academic year." Shui Luo laughed. He admired Long Yu a lot, not to mention that his sister, Red Oriole, was with Long Yu, so he missed them even more. However, he was a little confused when he saw Moon Song beside Long Yu and Red Oriole. "Who is this lady?" Shui Luo asked. "She's Moon Song, a good friend we met in the Demigod Academy," Long Yu said. "Because we're going to try to go to the eroding moon ancient region, we came back together to pick a first-grade god formation to practice." "What? Eroding moon ancient region?" Shui Luo's expression changed. "Isn't it too dangerous for you to go there? I only know that only senior consort you receive an invitation. After all, she was once a student of the Demigod Academy. Are you guys strong enough? Don't worry, we know what we're doing. If we can't comprehend a first-grade god formation, we won't go there recklessly." Red Oriole hugged Long Yu's arm and leaned on him. She smiled and said to Shui Luo, "There's 2 more months before the end of the academic year, right? It's basically impossible to comprehend a first-grade god formation." Shui Luo shook his head. Long Yu and the others didn't say much. They didn't argue because there was no need. After all, they had many methods that others didn't have or even heard of. For example, the Devil Dust Heart's ability to reconstruct the fleshly body could eliminate the side effects of medicinal pills and divine wine. Even if others had enough godhood wine, they wouldn't be able to drink it like Long Yu and the others did. In fact, they wouldn't even use it to comprehend Grade 1 god formations. One had to know that the effects of drinking godhood wine would gradually weaken. After drinking 5 bottles, there wouldn't be much of an effect. However, Long Yu and the others, after cultivating the Devil Dust Heart martial skill, could continue to drink the divine wine after their bodies were reconstructed and still maintain the full effect. Of course, there was no need to explain this to Shui Luo. After all, Long Yu didn't want to reveal the Devil Dust Heart too early. He had just returned and didn't know much about the Void Galaxy. It was necessary to be careful. After he graduated from the demigods this semester, he would be able to stay in the Void and observe the situation. In any case, there wouldn't be any accidents in the Void Galaxy right now. They wouldn't be attacked by any experts. This place was relatively hidden. For a short period of time, everyone could cultivate in peace. There wouldn't be many battles. There would often be a group of people leaving the Void Galaxy and going to the battlefield of the alien races near the territory of the demon race to accept a 3-month mission. After completing the mission, they would come back and focus on cultivation. This combination of cultivation and actual combat led to the rapid improvement of the people in the Void Galaxy. It should be noted that the cultivation resources in the Void Galaxy were already extremely abundant. Whether it was the creation items, the cultivation methods of the god formations, or the understanding of the primordial power of the metal element in the primordial pool, the cultivation conditions here were much better than in the outside world. Moreover, they could maintain absolute silence during the cultivation process. There wouldn't be any unexpected factors that would disturb them. Moon Song, Red Oriole, copy the cultivation methods of Star Flash and the 9 Firmaments and Demon Shadowbind into 10 Jade Slips. Although you've already reached the peak of your cultivation, you can only copy them to the Great Completion level. That should be enough for the suitable people in the Void Galaxy to start cultivating first. Long Yu said to Moon Song and Red Oriole. As for Yangqi himself, he planned to make 10 Jade Slips of the Unbounded Seal and the War-Crazed Celestial Body, which would allow 10 cultivators to cultivate to the peak of the high, unbounded grade techniques. When a cultivator cultivated to a certain level, they would be able to inscribe the cultivation method for that level and give it to others to cultivate. However, if one cultivated according to the Jade Slips copied by others, the efficiency and effectiveness would be relatively low. Over time, the grade of the martial technique might even decrease. Of course, that wasn't something that could happen in a short period of time. At the very least, when Long Yu copied the jade slips for the first time, the effects of his cultivation wouldn't be that much different from what he was doing. Only the people who had copied the jade slips would be able to copy and pass them on to the next generation. Long Yu wasn't worried about the weakening of the martial skills. After all, the people who copied the jade slips would be able to improve by studying the jade slips he had. Right now, he hadn't cultivated the two martial skills to the transcendent level, so he had to keep the original jade slips with him. Of course, Moon Song and Red Oriole weren't stingy with their time. After all, it would only take them 2 hours to copy a martial technique. That was enough time for everyone else in the Starry River to start cultivating high-grade, unbounded martial techniques. That was what Long Yu had agreed on from the start. Back when he and Whitey had chosen the reward at the Army headquarters, they'd given up on the unbounded level martial skills and chosen the Grade 1 God formations. That way, Long Yu would be able to get more cultivation jade slips from the Bone Folk and the vestigial races. In that case, I'll go prepare the cultivation jade slips. However, there's a Grade 1 God formation jade slip currently being cultivated by someone else. If you want to cultivate it, you'll have to go with the other two. There's still 12 Grade 2 God formations left. I'll bring them over for you to choose from. Shueluo said to Long Yu. Amen, all right. Long Yu nodded. That was to be expected. After all, there are many people in the Void Galaxy, especially those with peak cultivation bases. Long Yu guessed that the person cultivating the Grade 1 God formation was Consort Yu. However, that wasn't a big deal. The key was whether or not the two remaining Grade 1 God formation jade slips could work with each other, and whether or not they could cultivate a Grade 2 God formation. Shueluo brought the three to rest, then explained the general situation in the Void Galaxy to them. Right now, there were several factions in the Void Galaxy. Shueluo and the Monarch Emperor army that he led could be considered one of the factions. This faction had about 10,000 people, and the Monarch Emperor army was in the process of evolving into a sovereign army. After all, in this period of time, everyone in the Shueluo army had received a lot of cultivation resources, and their cultivation realm was rising rapidly. Half of them had already stepped into the sovereign secret realm, forming their own minor worlds. The White Featherbeastskin race led by Qing Feng and Qing Lei could be considered as the second faction on this side. This faction had the most people, with 300,000 of them. However, the majority of them were old, weak women and children. Only 20,000 of them had the strength to fight, and 3,000 of them had already stepped into the sovereign realm. Their overall strength was comparable to the Shueluo Legion. The third faction was led by Consort Yu, the Ghost Shadow Division of the Jiuyo clan. Of course, it wasn't the Ghost Shadow Division of the Jiuyo clan anymore, but the Ghost Shadow group of the Void Galaxy. There were over 100 people in this group, but every one of them was very strong. Moreover, they had all entered the absolute beginning golden pond and comprehended some metal attribute absolute beginning power. Their martial Dao realms had also greatly improved recently. Basically, all of them were at least upper dominator realm. Among them, 50 of them were first stage dominators, and some were even second stage dominators. As for the two leaders, Diao Fei and Si Yuan Bai, they were already fourth stage dominators. Their cultivation was still higher than Long Yu's. The other two factions were led by Eldest Bear and Su Yuqing. Each of them had about 10,000 people, and they had followed Shueluo and Xiao Bai to the Void Galaxy. They had set up camp and started to develop. With sufficient cultivation resources, the two emperor armies grew rapidly. Although they were not as strong as Shueluo's emperor army, more than a third of their cultivators had already stepped into the sovereign secret realm. Among them, Big Brother Xiong belonged to the Grizzly Bear Demon clan, while Su Yuqing belonged to the Immortal Fox Demon clan. The members of their respective Imperial Emperor armies were all willing to leave their respective clans and join the ranks of the Void Galaxy. Currently, Shueluo, Eldest Bear, Su Yuqing, and Etian Lei were all level 7 sovereigns. However, they had just reached this level, and compared to Xiao Bai and Consort Yu, there was still a huge gap in their overall combat strength. As for Shao, Bai, and Consort Yu, they were rather special existences in the Void Galaxy. Although they were strong, they did not lead any forces. Even the 100 or so Ghost Shadow Tribe members from the Consort Yu tribe were left to Jiao Feng and Si Yuan Bai to manage. Currently, Consort Yu and Shao Bai were trying their best to step into the demigod realm. Although the chances were slim, they had to keep trying. Yufei wondered if there would be any effect if she could comprehend more Grade 1 god formations. Yufei didn't know, but she could give it a try. Therefore, she started to comprehend a new Grade 1 god array. After all, Grade 1 god arrays were rumored to be created by god spirits. They had an aura that was close to that of god spirits. Apart from these forces, Long Yu was also concerned about the people he had brought from the Shenwu world. They had basically all arrived in the Void Galaxy. Man Xian, Qihua, Shi Yingwu, Shu Chan, and the others had all arrived in the Void Galaxy and were doing their best to cultivate and improve themselves. The good news was that they had found 3 power essences in the remains of the demigod realm of the Ice God tribe. Chapter 1475. Of the 3 power essences, 2 were ice essences and 1 was light essence. They were all extremely rare treasures. No wonder he was a demigod from the Ice God clan. In addition to the space essence and ice essence that Long Yu and Red Oriole had found, there were a total of 5 power essences in the Ice God clan's small world. For a demigod, 5 power essences wasn't much. It had to be known that Frost, who was at the peak of the 7th phase Great Ruler, already had 6 power essences. Long Yu found out that of the 2 ice essences they obtained, one was the innate skill fruit Man Xian had fused with himself, and the other was given to Guishian. Both of their innate skills had become extremely powerful after fusing with their energy essences. The other light essence was given to Shi Yingwu and was also infused into her innate divine fruit. Long Yu continued to ask around. Man Xian mainly learned the Berserker divine characters. After infusing the ice essence, his innate divine ability would carry the power of the ice attribute divine characters. The effect was to freeze the opponent. It was originally a purely offensive innate divine ability, but now it was a combination of attack and control. Gu Ishian mainly learned the space and elemental divine characters. However, this didn't have much to do with his main accomplishments. He was most proficient in all kinds of sword skills. Many of his innate divine abilities were sword skills, and they were extremely powerful. The innate divine ability that was infused with the ice attribute divine characters also had a series of control effects. It was quite powerful. Shi Yingwu cultivated the shadow attribute divine characters of death. After infusing her light essence, her innate divine ability became 2 extremes. She could continue to use the power of the death attribute divine characters to drag the opponent to death, and she could also use the power of light essence to absorb the death chi of her allies. In other words, it could heal. The 3's combat strength greatly increased because of this. Right now, Man Xian, Qihua, and the others were also cultivating in the void. However, Long Yu didn't disturb them because he was going to leave immediately after choosing some cultivation jade slips. Long Yu, Red Oriole, and Moonsong were led by Luo to a palace in the void. This palace was built by Consort Yu after Long Yu left the void. The void palace was not big, but it was mainly used to store the cultivation resources in the Void Galaxy. Moreover, there were dozens of cultivation formations in the palace, which were also created by Yufei. The cultivators who cultivated in the palace would be able to focus their minds and would not be disturbed by anything, which would greatly increase the efficiency of their cultivation. Most Sovereign Secret Realm experts didn't need ordinary formations to condense heaven and earth spiritual chi. This was because the small worlds in their bodies would naturally condense heaven and earth spiritual chi. Basically, there was no shortage of heaven and earth spiritual chi. Just like Long Yu, he could now use the heaven and earth spiritual chi to help the trapped cultivators recover. All right, Big Brother Luo, I have 2,500 Sovereign Realm experts here. However, they have encountered some problems. Long Yu pondered for a moment before telling Luo about this matter. Originally, he wanted to leave these people in his small world. Unfortunately, if he wanted to enter the eroding moon ancient domain, these people could not be brought in. At that time, it would be troublesome. It was better to leave them here and settle them in the Void Galaxy. Also, this senior is a top weapon-refining grandmaster of both the human and demon race. He has a deep understanding of formations. Long Yu introduced the Heavenfire Doyen and said, Senior Heavenfire Doyen is good friends with Little Bai. You can let Little Bai come over to welcome us. Luo's eyes lit up when he heard Long Yu's words. To him, the development of the Void Galaxy was relatively important. Now that Long Yu had brought back 2,500 Sovereign Realm experts and the Heavenfire Doyen, both of them would be extremely powerful forces. One had to know that although Luo, Big Brother Xiong, and Su Yuqing had brought back their respective armies, the total number of Sovereign Realm experts in their armies didn't exceed 1,000. Although there were many other sovereigns, most of them had just stepped into the Sovereign Secret Realm. Lower sovereigns were at most mid or upper sovereigns. They were still a distance away from becoming great sovereigns. The combat strength of a great sovereign and an ordinary sovereign was on a completely different level. Although the 2,500 great sovereigns that Long Yu had brought back had yet to fully recover their strength, there would be a day when they did. When that happened, the overall strength of the entire Void Galaxy would be doubled. This was the reason why Long Yu had wanted to keep all these people into his pocket dimension. Unfortunately, the situation had been too tense at that time. There were still thousands of trapped cultivators that hadn't been rescued yet. For Long Yu to do this, he had already reached his limit. With so many people to accommodate, he needed more people. Luo couldn't do it alone. With the Heavenfire Doyen around, he had to let Little Bai come. As for Consort Yu, she was currently cultivating and comprehending a Grade 1 god array. She didn't have the time to deal with these matters. Soon, Little Bai arrived at the palace after being notified by Luo. Her eyes lit up when she saw the Heavenfire Doyen. Good lad, you really brought this old fellow here. Little Bai thought to herself, but didn't show it on her face. She maintained a faint smile as she walked towards the crowd. The Heavenfire Doyen snorted when he saw Little Bai. Little brat, why didn't you ask me to come over yourself? You actually asked the dragon brat to come over. Are you looking down on me? No. Long Yu is much stronger than me. If I were to go, I definitely wouldn't be able to invite you over. Only Long Yu could invite you over. Little Bai chuckled. Her words didn't offend anyone and pleased the Heavenfire Doyen. In fact, if Little Bai had gone over personally, she might not have been able to invite him over. However, Long Yu really had something that amazed him. After coming to the Void Galaxy, the Heavenfire Doyen was rather satisfied. This was because the Heavenfire Doyen had discovered that this place wasn't within the territory of the human race or the demon race. Moreover, this place was extremely quiet. Before he arrived, the security measures were already in place. He could also sense that there were more than enough cultivation resources in this palace, including his weapon refinement materials. It should be noted that Long Yu and the others had been to the multi-winged tribe's primordial alien ruins and obtained a lot of weapon refinement materials and cultivation resources. Not to mention, they had traded all sorts of alien demigod corpses for a large batch of materials from the army headquarters. Liao Lele was on the side of the alchemists, but no weapon refiners dared to step forward. It wasn't that there wasn't a single weapon refiner among them, but that the level of these weapon refiners wasn't very high. It would already be amazing if they could refine an Archean warrior. As for an unbounded warrior, they couldn't do it at all. Therefore, almost all the weapon refinement materials were still there. With the Heavenfire Doyen's arrival, these weapon refinement materials could finally be put to good use. Since you're here, little dragon brats, this old man won't waste any more words with you. Little White, take this old man to your place. I'll pick a few brats with talent in weaponsmithing. This old man is going to train a few successors. The Heavenfire Doyen turned his head sideways and chuckled at Long Yu. Remember what you said. If there's no one here that I like, you'll have to learn weapon refinement from me. Long Yu was rather puzzled by this, but he still nodded. Don't worry. Even if I want to learn weapon refinement, now isn't the time. At least wait until we return from the eroding moon ancient region. Of course, you should still focus on cultivation, the Heaven Fire Doyen said with a nod. He knew that Long Yu's martial talent was pretty good. He knew that the entire Void Galaxy would have to rely on Long Yu's martial prowess in the future. As for weapon refinement, Long Yu wasn't the best, but he wasn't too far off from the Heaven Fire Doyen. Now that they were in the Void Galaxy, the Heaven Fire Doyen began to think about the entire faction. He couldn't force Long Yu to abandon his cultivation to weapon refinement. That would be irresponsible to Long Yu and the entire Void Galaxy. Although the Heaven Fire Doyen had an eccentric temper, he still knew what was right and what was wrong. He wasn't arrogant. Little White brought the Heaven Fire Doyen out to choose his people. As for Long Yu, he released the 2,500 cultivators from the pocket dimension. Then, he ordered them to follow Shuel Luo's instructions to find their own residences in the Void Galaxy, or to build a new cluster of residences so that everyone could live together. Shuel Luo understood Long Yu's intentions. He wanted to unite these people and temporarily manage them. He would lead them to a place in the Void Galaxy where they would build a complex of buildings. Perhaps they would be able to build a city. Among the 2,500 people, less than half of them had fully recovered, so it was not suitable for them to go out and fight for the time being. In the short term, they had to focus on recovering. Even if some of them had fully recovered their strength, their minds had been severely damaged, and that was not something that could be recovered in a short period of time. Wait here for a while. I'll be back to settle you down soon. After Shuel Luo finished speaking, he walked into the depths of the palace and took out the Divine Formation Cultivation Jade Slip for Long Yu to choose from. He knew very well what the eroding moon ancient domain meant. Therefore, he took this matter very seriously. After all, Long Yu also had his sister, Red Oriole. Chapter 1476. Very quickly, Shuel Luo brought out the remaining 2 Grade 1 God Formation Cultivation Jade Slips and 12 Grade 2 God Formation Cultivation Jade Slips for Long Yu, Red Oriole, and Moonsong to choose from. To an ordinary person, even a Grade 2 God Array was considered an extremely powerful existence. In the army on the battlefield, if one wanted to exchange for a Grade 2 God Array Cultivation Jade Slip, they would need at least 10 million contribution points. Long Yu himself had learned a Grade 2 God Formation from the Juyo Dragon Emperor's inheritance. It was called the 12-Star Prison, but it was a rather useless control technique. Most of the time, it was useless in a head-on battle. After all, everyone was already at a high level, and they could clearly differentiate between illusion and reality. Previously, Long Yu had relied on the 12-Star Prison to trap his opponents in an illusion. Then, while his opponents were confused, he would pull them into his small world. However, that was a long time ago. Currently, Long Yu's opponents were all great sovereigns. Moreover, they were all powerful existences that surpassed rank 5 great sovereigns. Pulling his opponents into his small world was simply unrealistic. Therefore, even though this was a Grade 2 God Formation, it had been a long time since he used it. If he needed to escape, he could directly throw out this technique to trap his opponent. Who knows? He might be able to trap his opponent for a long time. In any case, Long Yu had experienced this technique before. If he wanted to break free from this technique, if it was a cultivator of the same realm as him, he would need at least an hour to 2 hours to do so. When choosing a God Formation, I can also include the 12-Star Prison. Let's see if there are any that are compatible with it. Long Yu thought to himself. Then, together with Moonsong and Red Oriole, he began to look through the God Formation Jade Slips that Shuel Luo had taken out. First, there were 2 Grade 1 God Formation Cultivation Jade Slips. The first Grade 1 God Array Cultivation Jade Slip that Long Yu looked at was called 1,000 Soul Lock Gates. This Grade 1 God Array was also a control technique. It could condense over 1,000 Divine Rune Gates and tightly lock the opponent's soul. Once the soul was locked, the opponent would not only be unable to move, but they would also be unable to use any techniques. It could be said that they were completely trapped. This Grade 1 God Formation could be used to deal with a single person but could also be used to deal with over 1,000 people at the same time. However, the more people it dealt with, the weaker the effect would be, and the shorter the soul lock would last. A control technique was exactly what Long Yu needed. As long as he could control his opponent, Long Yu would be able to continuously stack Berserk Heavenly Power. By the time he reached the 100th level of Berserk Heavenly Power, his destructive power would be able to kill existences 3 or 4 levels higher than him. Of course, if it was in the eroding Moon Ancient region, Long Yu would have to face powerful existences from other clans. Every single one of them would definitely be a genius of their clan. Normally, they would also be experts who could defeat opponents of a higher cultivation level. It would be extremely difficult for Long Yu to kill an existence that was at the peak of the 7th stage Sovereign Realm. Just imagine, if Long Yu were to fight against Consort Yu, who would win? Although Long Yu was powerful, he wasn't that arrogant. Therefore, a grade 1 god formation like 1,000 Soul Lock Gates was definitely a good technique. Even if he couldn't defeat his opponent, he could trap them for a period of time and then escape. In any case, it was extremely dangerous for Long Yu to go to the eroding Moon Ancient region. However, if he didn't go, Long Yu was afraid that he would regret it. Therefore, he had to be fully prepared before he went. Apart from the 1,000 Soul Lock Gates, there was another grade 1 god formation cultivation jade slip. It recorded a mystical god formation called Illusory Realm. This god formation could be used to construct an illusory realm. The range of this illusory realm could reach dozens of miles. It was extremely heaven-defying. In the illusory field, the creator of this divine formation could switch between the real and the illusory state at any time. When attacked, he could turn himself into an illusory state, which was equivalent to Long Yu's transformation into nothingness. The only difference was that an illusory figure would appear in his original position, and he wouldn't suffer any substantial damage. Not only him, but the creator of the illusory realm could also switch any existence in the illusory realm between reality and illusion. This included the power of some divine runes. The effect was quite terrifying. As for the specific effect, Long Yu would probably have to cultivate it himself to know. It was still difficult to understand how powerful it was just by looking at the introduction. When he used it, it might have a miraculous effect. I'm cultivating the illusory realm. Who's going to cultivate the 1,000 Soul Lock Gates? Long Yu immediately made up his mind. He definitely had to cultivate these 2 grade 1 god formations, so he chose one for himself. As for the 1,000 Soul Lock Gates, Red Oriole and Moon Song could both cultivate it. There weren't too many conditions to cultivate a god formation, and these 2 god formations didn't have any elemental bias. It was up to the 2 girls to choose. Let's take a look at the other grade 2 god formations first. The time it takes to cultivate 1 grade 1 god formation is enough to cultivate 5 grade 2 god formations. Moonsong covered her mouth and smiled. Let's see if there are any grade 2 god formations that are suitable. In the eroding Moon Ancient domain, it's better to have as many techniques as possible. Man, that's true. Long Yu nodded. The 2 girls then went to look at the grade 2 god formation cultivation jade slips. Long Yu didn't get involved in this matter. Since he had enough techniques, he didn't need so many god formation techniques. He would first cultivate the illusory realm before thinking about other things. Not long after, the 2 girls chose 4 grade 2 god formation cultivation jade slips and decided to let Moonsong cultivate them. Moonsong would definitely be able to cultivate 4 grade 2 god formations faster than Long Yu and Red Oriole, comprehending a grade 1 god formation. These 4 grade 2 god formations would be more effective in a battle against a stronger opponent. Hence, Moonsong chose these 4. Other god formations that could attack groups of people wouldn't be of any use in the eroding Moon Ancient domain. They were already 2 levels lower than their opponents in the first place. If they attacked groups of people, their destructive power would be even lower. It was almost impossible for them to have any effect. You want to take a total of 6? Shueluo was a little puzzled. So be it. I hope you guys can come back soon. Otherwise, the cultivation of the big fellows in the Void Galaxy might be affected. although Luo said that he naturally knew which was more important. Long Yu, Moon Song, and Red Oriole were heading to the eroding moon ancient domain. If they didn't have many tricks up their sleeves, they would definitely die. Hence, they had to satisfy Long Yu and the other two first. As for the possibility of the three of them dying in the eroding moon ancient domain, it was not impossible. In that case, the 6 cultivation jade slips would be equivalent to completely losing them. It would be impossible to get them back. It would be a great loss. However, Luo couldn't be bothered to think about this possibility. On the one hand, Red Oriole was still with Long Yu, so he naturally didn't want that to happen. On the other hand, Long Yu seemed to have never failed before. If nothing unexpected happened in the eroding moon ancient domain, it shouldn't be a problem for Long Yu. This was just wishful thinking. In fact, even Long Yu was thinking about whether he would die in the eroding moon ancient domain. But even if it was extremely dangerous, Long Yu had to go. This was an opportunity for him to quickly improve. If he could comprehend some of the power of the gods, his future path of cultivation would be smooth. Long Yu was very ambitious. He didn't want to be stuck at the level of a 7th-stage great ruler for so long like others. He didn't want to be stuck at the level of a 7th-stage great ruler for the rest of his life. He couldn't allow that to happen. He had to be the strongest. Fortunately, it seemed that Consort Yu would be going with the opening of the eroding moon ancient domain. If he wanted to ensure his own safety, he could follow Concubine Yu. It wasn't the first or second time that Long Yu had been with Concubine Yu. He wouldn't go so far as to drag her down. As for the specifics, he would have to wait and see. Right now, Luo only said that Consort Yu had been invited. He didn't say that Consort Yu would definitely go. After all, Consort Yu had been in seclusion to cultivate first-grade god formations. She had made a decision on whether or not to go to the eroding moon ancient domain. If Consort Yu became a demigod during this process, then it was naturally impossible for her to go to the eroding moon ancient domain. Although the possibility wasn't high, it was still a possibility. One had to know that Consort Yu's talent for cultivation was far greater than most people in the Demigod Institute. So if there were no accidents, she would become a demigod in the end. It was only a matter of time. Although I don't know why you guys have the confidence to cultivate these god formations in such a short time. Since you've made your choice, don't regret it. Once you're in the eroding moon ancient domain, you must pay attention to your safety at all times. Your life is the most important. Understand? Luo reminded Long Yu. What he cared about the most was Red Oriole. After all, he had watched her grow up. If anything happened to her, he would definitely feel very pained. He wanted to tell Long Yu not to go, but the pursuit of martial arts was the goal of everyone in this world. The eroding moon ancient domain was an opportunity that others couldn't get even if they wanted to. Since Long Yu and the others had the opportunity to go, they naturally wouldn't give it up. Let's try to improve as much as possible. That way, our chances will be much higher. Long Yu nodded his head. He was naturally aware of the dangers of this trip. However, he would not shrink back no matter what, unless his strength was far from what he had expected at that time. In that case, heading to the Eclipse Moon ancient domain would be no different from courting death, and there was no need for him to go. However, during this period of time, Long Yu believed that the three of them would still improve a lot. After choosing the cultivation jade slips, Long Yu and the others temporarily left the palace. As for Luo, he led the group of 2,500 great sovereigns to a certain place in the Void Galaxy to build their own city. Let's go find the others, especially Liao Lele. It's good to prepare some medicinal pills in advance. We've been running out of medicinal pills for a while now, right? Long Yu said to Red Oriole and Moon Song. Then, he flew towards the residence of Liao Lele and the others, which he had just obtained from Luo. Chapter 1477. Long Yu and the others went to look for Man Xian and the others. At the moment, Man Xen, Chi Hua, and the others were cultivating in the starry sky. After all, they had spent some time training in the foreign tribe battlefield and had gained a lot of combat experience. The only thing they lacked now was the cultivation of their martial arts realm. Fortunately, there were plenty of cultivation resources in the galaxy. Man Xin and the others had also stepped into the sovereign secret realm. Basically, the weakest person in the group that Long Yu brought out from the Shinwu world was a lesser sovereign realm cultivator. The strongest ones, such as Shi Yingwu, Shu Chan, and Gu Yixian, were also great sovereigns. However, there were only first-level great sovereigns, and they had just broken through not too long ago. Man Xian, Qi Hua, and the others were mostly at the higher ruler level. After all, they had enough cultivation resources, and their cultivation talent wasn't bad, so they could easily advance. Liao Lele had also reached the higher ruler level. When Long Yu found Liao Lele jumped up as if he had been waiting for a long time. "Big Brother Long, you're finally back. Here are some medicinal pills. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Take them." Liao Lele directly handed some medicinal pills to Long Yu. Long Yu took a look and discovered that the most eye-catching of these pills was a heaven-defying pill, the 8 Extremes Blood Pill. This pill had been refined from the Rainbow Stone Egg. Liao Lele had already refined 3 heaven-defying pills, and Long Yu had already used 2 of them to increase the compatibility between a Shadow Attribute and Space Attribute Divine Runes. There was still the Sacred Soul Heavenly Pill and the 8 Extreme Blood Pill that he had obtained. The Sacred Soul Heavenly Pill was something that Long Yu planned to use in the Eroding Moon Ancient region. With the Devil Dust Heart and the Sacred Soul Heavenly Pill, he would only need a few breaths' time to reconstruct his fleshly body. The 8 Extreme Blood Pill could awaken the 8 Extreme Bloodline in one's body. The 8 Extreme Bloodline was a method to instantly increase one's fighting strength, but it would cause some damage to one's body. "It's finally done," Liao Lele smiled and said. "Among the 4 pills, the 8 Supreme Blood Pill is the most difficult to refine and requires the most materials. I only managed to gather all the materials after coming to the Void Galaxy and managed to refine it. As for the other pills, they're all ordinary pills. Big Brother Dragon should be able to use them on a daily basis." Long Yu nodded. "Thank you for your hard work." Long Yu was indeed very grateful to Liao Lele. Although Liao Lele's achievements today were all thanks to Long Yu, it was still very touching that he was so considerate of Long Yu. However, Long Yu didn't say much, and Liao Lele obviously didn't expect Long Yu to respond. She had long since gotten used to the distance between her and Long Yu. Long Yu checked the pills that Liao Lele had given him. Apart from the 8 Supreme Blood Pill, there were about 20 low-grade and mid-grade endless-level pills, all of which were purely for recovering one's strength. Moreover, the theory behind the recovery elixirs refined by Liao Lele was different from other elixirs. This batch of recovery elixirs would stimulate the cultivator's dantian and meridians after being consumed, allowing the cultivator to absorb energy from the surroundings more quickly, thereby rapidly restoring their own strength. It was a very powerful medicinal pill and could last for a very long time. Consuming one would allow one's power to be restored for at least an hour. And if the effects of an unbounded medicinal pill were unleashed, it would last even longer. A pill that could increase one's strength recovery speed by 10 times over a long period of time was definitely very precious. At least, Long Yu had never seen such a pill on the market, not even in the demigod colleges. The only pity was that such pills could only be taken by humans. As a demon, Red Oriole didn't have any effect. After all, the pills stimulated the dantian of humans, not the monster cores of demons. After my semester in the Demigods College is over, I'll be able to come back and train in peace. Lele, if possible, I'll bring you more prescriptions and materials. It'll be best if you can make more and better pills. The development of the Void Galaxy in that regard will depend on you." Long Yu said to Liao Lele, "Don't worry, Brother Long. I'm also training other brothers and sisters who are talented in alchemy. The main thing is that we're still lacking weapons like medicine cauldrons, so their development is limited. Brother Long, compared to materials, what we need the most right now are medicine cauldrons and other weapons." Liao Lele said to Long Yu, a little embarrassed. She was obviously a little embarrassed to ask something from Long Yu. Long Yu didn't think it was troublesome. He nodded and said, "In that case, I understand. I really neglected this aspect before. Fortunately, we have you for alchemy and Heaven Fire Doyen for refining weapons. Our daily needs in the Void Galaxy are more or less enough." Long Yu was still a little puzzled by Heaven Fire Doyen's request. If he couldn't find a junior with talent in refining weapons, he would have to learn how to refine weapons. That would be quite awkward. Fortunately, Long Yu felt that there were still a lot of people in the Void Galaxy. Plus, there were all kinds of experts in the small worlds. It shouldn't be difficult to find a few people with talent in refining weapons. In any case, Long Yu's talent in weaponsmithing was not top-notch. If he wanted to find a top-notch weaponsmithing talent, it might not be that easy. However, if he wanted to find a weaponsmithing talent on the same level as Long Yu, it should still be possible. Then, Long Yu said goodbye to Liao Lele. He had basically finished everything he wanted to do after returning to the Void Galaxy. It was about time to leave. After returning to the Demigod College, we'll try to cultivate first grade or second grade formations. I'll take the Octopole Blood Pill and see what special effects the Octopole bloodline has. Red Oriole and Moon Song didn't have any objections after Long Yu planned what to do next. The two women wanted to find a place to cultivate their god arrays. Red Oriole wanted to cultivate the Thousand Gates Soul Lock, while Moon Song wanted to cultivate the 4 Grade 2 god arrays she had chosen. As for Long Yu, he wanted to cultivate the Illusory Field. The three of them cultivated different things, but they were all able to display great effects in the eroding Moon Ancient Domain. After saying goodbye to Little White and Shuel Luo, Long Yu returned to the space-time tunnel with Red Oriole and Moon Song. Then, he saw the body of the Juyo Dragon Emperor. The girl Ji Tao's soul was in this body, and she could control it. Every 3 months, the Juyo Dragon Emperor's body could leave the ancient alien ruins under the girl's control. He had 3 days of freedom, and the rest of the time, he had to stay in the ruins to suppress the demigod statue of the multi-winged race. This situation would probably only end when a demigod expert was born in the entire Void Galaxy. If someone in the Void Galaxy stepped into the demigod level, they would be able to join forces with the Juyo Dragon Emperor's body and completely destroy the demigod statue of the multi-winged race. There would be no need to seal it anymore. And the one who was most likely to do so was, of course, Consort Yu. Now, Consort Yu did not leave with Long Yu. She would probably leave for the eroding Moon Ancient Domain 3 months later. At that time, the eroding Moon Ancient Domain should not be officially opened yet. Everyone would be preparing in the surrounding 3 galaxies, so it would not be too late for Consort Yu to come over at that time. Long Yu knew Consort Yu's plan. Right now, Consort Yu had already reached the peak of the 7th phase Great Sovereign Realm. If she did not step into the demigod level, her strength would not improve much. Therefore, the breakthrough she wanted to make now was to step into the demigod level. Comprehending a first-grade divine formation was an attempt that Consort Yu was currently doing. If it did not work, she would go to the eroding Moon Ancient Domain to look for opportunities. Anyway, for Consort Yu, even in a place like the eroding Moon Ancient Domain, she would not encounter too much danger. After all, compared to the powerful geniuses of other alien races, she was definitely a top-notch existence. As long as one did not step into the demigod level, almost no existence could be a match for Consort Yu in a one-on-one fight. After saying goodbye to the young girl Ji Tao, Long Yu left the Void Galaxy with the 2 girls. After arriving at the territory of the demon race, he traveled through space and returned to the Demigod College through the training Jade Slip that he had accepted previously. Then, the 3 of them separated and returned to their own personal spaces. The first thing that Long Yu did after returning to his own territory was to take the Octopole Blood Pill. Long Yu knew that he would have to take this extraordinary pill a long time ago, but he did not expect that he would have to take it after such a long time, and that was with the help of Liao Lele, who was an expert in alchemy. Otherwise, such an extraordinary pill like the Octopole Blood Pill would be hard to find even in the trading center of the Demigod College. There were some extraordinary pills on display in the trading center of the Demigod College, but Long Yu found that they were not very helpful to him. In other words, they were not suitable for him. After all, every cultivator had a different understanding of power and fighting style. Every kind of extraordinary pill was suitable for some cultivators to take. As soon as the octopole blood pill entered his stomach, Long Yu immediately felt that there was a fiery power flowing in his body. Between his dantian and the devil dust heart, 8 blood-colored meridians were gradually opened. That was the octopole blood pill. However, these 8 blood-color meridians had not been opened yet. They were completely blocked and could not exert any effect yet. Do I have to open these 8 meridians on my own initiative? Long Yu had never taken such pills and used them to open up something in his body. So, he was a little confused and a little curious at the same time. So, he activated the power in his body and tried to open the 8 blood-color meridians. Chapter 1478. When Long Yu tried to open the 8 blood meridians with the power in his body, Long Yu felt a kind of pain coming from his body. That made him a little confused. Shouldn't the 8 extreme bloodlines be open like this? He had a feeling that if he tried to forcefully open the 8 blood meridians, something bad would happen. Thus, he temporarily stopped and didn't forcefully open them. However, this made his teeth itch more and more. The 8 extreme bloodlines were born in his body, but he couldn't open them. What was going on? Did he have to absorb some kind of power to open them? Or did he have to meet some conditions to open them? Long Yu tried to figure it out by himself, but it was truly hard for him to figure out. If he tried to forcefully open it up, he would feel an excruciating pain all over his body, giving him an ominous premonition. The 8 extreme bloodlines shouldn't be opened in such a manner. Since I can't figure it out myself, I have to ask others. There are so many geniuses in the demonic college. There should be a lot of records about this kind of thing. Long Yu thought to himself. He left his personal space and walked toward the database of the demonic college. It was a very magnificent building in the demonic college. Not only was there a trading center, but there was also a vast personal space for every student, a mission hall, and many other places. However, most of the places were places that ordinary people rarely went. For example, the database that Long Yu was going to now. In the database of the demonic college, there were many things that outsiders didn't know. There were things that only those who had reached this level were qualified to know, such as the history of many alien races, the human race and the demon race, and many ancient existences. In the database of the demonic college, Long Yu remembered that there was a student who had been reading it. That student was called a bookworm by others. But now, Long Yu really had to find a guy like that to ask about the 8 extreme bloodlines. Soon, Long Yu came to the door of the database of the demonic college. It was another spacious, independent space. Students of the demonic college had to show their identity cards to enter. Naturally, Long Yu was unimpeded. In fact, the seniors of the demonic college hoped that the young geniuses could come to the database to find more things. Even if they didn't use it at all, it was always good to increase their knowledge. After all, these geniuses had a photographic memory. Therefore, the seniors hoped that the students could come to the database to find things. Naturally, they wouldn't set any high threshold. As long as they were a student of the demonic college, they could come to the database to find things. Of course, the database was divided into many levels. Ordinary students could only look through the information recorded in the jade slips on the first floor. If they wanted to go to the second floor and look up some of the more secretive things, they would have to look up enough information on the first floor. After the assessment, they could only go to the second level if they could master most of the first level. This was something that many students of the demigod colleges wanted to complain about. Unfortunately, the seniors of the demigod colleges had made such a rule, and there was nothing they could do about it. They could only follow the rules. That was a rule that many students of the demonic college wanted to complain about. In the entire demonic college, there was only one person who spent a lot of time in the database. If someone wanted to read the higher level information in the database, they could only negotiate with the bookworm. After Long Yu entered the database, what appeared in front of him was a boundless green grassland. On the grassland, There was a jade slip floating in the air at regular intervals, bathed in holy light. And in the holy light above the jade slip, there would usually be some words to mark what was recorded in the jade slip. As far as Long Yu could see, the entire green grassland stretched as far as the eye could see. Just the jade slips on this floor alone numbered in the tens of thousands. If he wanted to read through all of them, it would take at least a few years. After all, the information recorded in each jade slip varied in depth. Although he could remember everything at a glance, if he wanted to understand it in depth and think clearly about some key points, he would still need to spend some time thinking about it. Long Yu randomly picked the jade slip closest to him and glanced at the words in the holy light above. It recorded something about a certain race of the demon race. Long Yu wasn't interested in the matters of this race, so he just wanted to casually flip through it. However, he soon discovered that if he wanted to flip through these jade slips, he actually needed to pay the battlefield Legion merit. The information jade slip in front of Long Yu required 200,000 army merit points. This number wasn't much compared to the other information, but if he wanted to browse through all the information jade slips on the first level of the database, he would probably need billions of army merit points. How could that bookworm stay here all the time to read the information? Moreover, it is said that he has already finished reading all the jade slips on the first level. Long Yu was somewhat surprised. Apart from the time, where did the billions of army merits come from? He was very confused at the moment, but he would know very soon. As if sensing that someone had come from the database, a slightly plump figure appeared in front of Long Yu in a flash. This person was a human race cultivator, and he had a shifty-eyed appearance. If one were to see him anywhere else, one would not be able to guess that this fellow was a bookworm who spent all his time in the database and wandered about in the sea of knowledge. However, it was impossible for a student of the Demigod College to appear here except for the bookworm. My name is Tao E. You look a little unfamiliar. Are you new this year? The shifty-eyed fatty asked Long Yu. Hello, my name is Long Yu. I'm indeed new to the Demigod College this year. Hearing the guy's introduction, Long Yu knew that this guy was indeed the rumored bookworm Tao E. This guy was rather clever. He had learned Long Yu's identity as soon as he came in. Long Yu wondered how he knew. You came to the Demigod College this year. The academic year is almost over, and this is your first time to come to the database. TSK. I can tell at first glance that you're not a good student who likes to study. Tao E sized up Long Yu and asked with a chuckle, How about it? What information do you want to look up here? I can look it up for you, but correspondingly, I have to charge a certain amount of army merits as a reward. You also know that you need army merits to look up the information here, and it will also cost you some money to look up the information for you. After hearing what the guy said, Long Yu finally realized how this guy could look up all the information on the first level. It turned out that he had to charge money. In fact, Long Yu had already guessed that this was the case, but he felt that there would not be many people who would come here to look up information. Therefore, it would be difficult for Tao E to charge billions of army merits for this. But it was obvious that this guy had done just that. Moreover, the fee was definitely not low. Of course, Long Yu would not ask the questions he wanted to know so straightforwardly. Otherwise, wouldn't it be obvious that he was being ripped off by the other party? Therefore, Long Yu directly asked a few questions. I want to know a few things. I want to ask you, what do you know? Come on, make a list. There are really few questions that can't be found in the database of this kind of demigod college. Tao, he chuckled and reached out to take out a stone pillar from his small world. After placing it on the grassland, he leaned against the stone pillar and began to walk leisurely. He looked extremely relaxed. It seemed that this guy was living a good life. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and said, First, about the origin and birth of the foreign god race. Second, any information about the eroding moon ancient domain. Third, about the Tai Chu divine great awakening. Fourth, about the Baji bloodline. Fifth, about the cultivation experience of the grade 1 god formation illusion field. Sixth, about the Juyo dragon emperor's information. Long Yu said 6 things in one breath, making Tao E frown slightly. After Long Yu finished speaking, Tao E looked at Long Yu meaningfully. I'm an honest seller who will never swindle anyone. You don't have to confuse me like this. If you really have so many questions, you wouldn't have come to me when the academic year is almost over, right? These words had actually exposed Long Yu's plan in an instant. It could be seen that this fellow was indeed very shrewd. Long Yu shook his head and smiled. You're wrong. These things are indeed what I want to know. It's just that I don't know how much I need to pay to know them. Tell me which can be found on the first floor. I can go and see for myself. As for the things on the second floor or higher, I'll have to rely on you, brother. Foreign God Race, Eroding Moon Ancient Domain, Tai Chu Divine Great Awakening. These three are general information that can be found on the first floor. However, I don't recommend you to look up these information yourself because they are all here. Tao, he leaned against the stone pillar behind him, then pointed at his head and said, the 8 extreme bloodline, the illusory realm, and the cultivation-related information are all on the second level. If you want to know any of them, you'll need 10 million contribution points from the battlefield. Geo Dragon Emperor is recorded on the third floor. If you pay 15 million battlefield merit points, I can tell you without reservation. The first 3 general information that you want to look up, I can give it to you as a gift. Buy one, get one free. How about it? This guy is an unscrupulous businessman. Long Yu cursed in his heart. Although he knew that this guy's price would be very high, he didn't expect it to be so unscrupulous. More importantly, if he wanted to know anything about the Baji bloodline, he had to ask this guy. After all, it was extremely rare. Unless it was a coincidence, other people in the Demigod College could only find it in the database. Chapter 1479. As a matter of fact, Long Yu only needed the information about the Octopole bloodline, the Real and Illusion Zone, and the Geo Dragon Emperor. He didn't need the other 2. If he only bought one of them, he could also get a copy of the first 3 for free. The Origin of the Godly Clan, the Eroding Moon Ancient Realm, and the Awakening of the Absolute Beginning Divine Grade. The first 2 were useful to Long Yu, but the last one was useless. The experience of awakening a divine grade absolute beginning might be useful for an ordinary person, but for Long Yu, it wasn't very useful. That was because he only had one divine grade absolute beginning weapon, the Void Nether Dragon Blade. And that battle weapon was an existence that surpassed divine grade absolute beginning weapons. It was a special divine grade absolute beginning weapon that had been smelted in the absolute beginning furnace. If it was an ordinary absolute beginning divine grade weapon, Long Yu would have awakened a few levels long ago. But now, the Nether Void Dragon Blade hadn't even awakened a single level, which made Long Yu quite puzzled. Even if it were a special absolute beginning divine grade, it shouldn't have awakened so slowly. According to Red Oriole's experience, as long as she kept using the absolute beginning divine grade, it would awaken naturally. But Long Yu didn't have any experience like that. Therefore, the experience of awakening a normal absolute beginning divine grade was completely useless to Long Yu. Otherwise, he could ask the demigod seniors who also had a special absolute beginning divine grade. But he didn't even know who had that special absolute beginning divine grade, let alone ask them. How could he find a demigod that easily? Even for Long Yu, it would be very difficult to find a demigod to meet. After all, demigods had a lot of things to do and didn't have that much free time to meet him. Long Yu thought for a moment. The cultivation experience of the predecessors in the Real and Illusion Zone might be useful to him. If he could learn something from it, he should be able to shorten the time he needed to cultivate the Illusion Zone. Long Yu heard from Moonsong that many students of the demigod academies were willing to read the cultivation experience of martial arts techniques and divine formations. That way, they could shorten the time it took to comprehend and increase the efficiency. Then it's decided, Long Yu thought to himself. In any case, 10 million Legion merit points wasn't that much to him. If he could buy it, he would. If he could shorten the time he had to spend, he could reduce the consumption of Soulbridge wine. If he calculated it carefully, he could even save quite a bit. As for the information that came with it, it was just a matter of convenience. After all, the information that came with it was on the first level. Long Yu could just spend a few 100,000 army merit points to look it up himself. It was just a little more convenient now. Since you said so, then I'll buy 2 of them. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and said to Tao Yi, I want to know the information related to the 8 extreme bloodline, as well as the cultivation experience of the real illusion field. As for the other 2 pieces of information, just tell me about the origin of the Ouroboros and the eroding moon ancient domain. After saying that, Long Yu took out a jade slip and gave 20 million army merit to Tao Yi. Tao Yi's temperament changed after receiving the money. He nodded and said to Long Yu, wait a moment. I'll go summarize the information and tell you all of it. He put away the stone pillar behind him and disappeared. He should have run to the 2nd level of the database. Long Yu waited where he was. Not long after, Tao Yi appeared again and brought the 4 pieces of information that Long Yu wanted to know. When Long Yu left the database, he already had a clear understanding of what he wanted to know. The most important thing was, of course, about the 8 extreme bloodline. Now that Long Yu had taken the 8 extreme blood pill, the embryonic form of the 8 extreme bloodline had been born in his body. However, the 8 extreme bloodline could not be opened by him. Therefore, he came to the database to inquire about the relevant information. He was pleasantly surprised to find that there was indeed such relevant information. After reading this information, Long Yu learned that the opening of the 8 extreme bloodline could only be carried out in the state of battle. After the battle stopped, the 8 extreme bloodline would be closed again. This was an existence that would only take effect in battle. Once a cultivator who cultivated the 8 extreme bloodline entered battle, the 8 extreme bloodline would naturally be opened. The longer the battle, the more intense the battle, the more 8 extreme bloodline would be opened. Every time an 8 extreme bloodline was opened, the basic power that the cultivator could exert would double. If all 8 extreme bloodlines were opened, the basic power of the cultivator would increase by 8 times. This was equivalent to raising the cultivator's martial arts realm by another level, allowing him to defeat opponents 1 level higher than him. However, it was worth noting that the opening of the 8 extreme bloodlines would have a significant impact on the cultivator's physical body and small world. Among them, the more 8 extreme bloodlines were opened, the more the cultivator's physical body would suffer from the backlash. When all the 8 extreme bloodlines were opened, even if the cultivator only fought for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the cultivator's physical body would completely collapse. The impact on the small world was even more abysmal. Every time any of the 8 extreme bloodlines was opened, a blood-colored crack would appear in the cultivator's small world. This blood-colored crack would appear in the void of the small world and become a spatial crack. To fill this spatial crack, it would require a lot of creation power. If all the 8 extreme bloodlines were opened, the 8 blood-colored cracks would require at least a 2nd-grade, heavenly crystal-grade creation item to be filled. In other words, it was equivalent to tens of millions of battlefield military merit points. Opening all the bloodlines once would consume tens of millions of battlefield military merit points. Even if one 8 extreme bloodline was opened, it would require a 3rd-grade, heavenly crystal-grade creation item to make up for it. That would be 5 million. This is completely burning money. Long Yu felt extremely pained about this. Now that the 8 extreme bloodlines had been born in his body, there was no way he could regret it even if he wanted to. Fortunately, although Long Yu couldn't control the opening of the 8 extreme bloodlines, he could control himself from opening them. In a situation where he didn't need the 8 extreme bloodlines to explode, he could choose not to open the 8 extreme bloodlines so that it wouldn't cause any damage to the small world. All in all, the 8 extreme bloodlines were not bad, especially for Long Yu. He only needed to consider one of the side effects, which was the damage to the small world. As for the damage to the physical body, would Long Yu care? After all, with the devil dust heart, the injuries on Long Yu's physical body wouldn't be affected at all. He could completely recover in a few breaths. After understanding the 8 extreme bloodlines, Long Yu had a certain understanding of them. As for the specifics, Long Yu didn't really want to try. After all, trying would cost 5 million battlefield military merit points. He really couldn't afford it. However, Long Yu knew very well that the reason why the 8th Supreme Blood Pill was a heaven-defying pill was not for ordinary cultivators, but for those cultivators who had already reached the peak. For example, Consort Yu or some other demigods. It was already very difficult for those experts to improve in terms of martial arts. Once they had the 8 extreme bloodlines in their bodies, they would be able to suppress other powerful existences at the same peak in battle, and thus have even more powerful combat ability. If Consort Yu had the 8 extreme bloodlines and fully activated them in battle, she would probably be able to fight against demigod experts for a period of time. This was the greatest use of the 8 extreme bloodlines. Now, to Long Yu, it was undoubtedly a greater guarantee for his trip to the Eclipse Moon Ancient region. If he could step into the 3rd phase Dominator realm before entering the Eclipse Moon Ancient region, then he could really rely on the 8 extreme bloodlines to fight against some 7th phase Dominator foreign race experts head-on. He would even dare to fight against 7th phase Dominator experts like Shuel Luo, Boss Xiong, and Su Yuqing. However, a peak 7th phase Dominator like Consort Yu couldn't be fought by Long Yu alone. This wasn't just a problem of basic strength, there were other reasons. Moreover, in the Eclipse Moon Ancient region, because it was a place of inheritance left behind by a divine spirit expert, Long Yu didn't dare to take out the 9 underworld prison tablet. Both of them were items of divine spirits. If there was any conflict, Long Yu couldn't guarantee that the 9 underworld prison tablet would still be able to protect him. Then, Long Yu looked at the cultivation notes about the Grade 1 God formation and the illusion field. These things were quite important to him. Tao Yi, that fellow, was quite reliable. He found more than 10 people's notes about cultivating the illusion field for Long Yu. This was very important to Long Yu. The things he bought with 10 million battlefield merit points might be able to reduce the time required for Long Yu to cultivate the illusion field by half. Originally, with Long Yu's talent, he would need at least 2 to 3 years to comprehend a Grade 1 God formation, illusory field. Even if he were to drink heavenly wine, a bottle of heavenly wine would only be equivalent to 3 months of time. If he could save half the time, he would be able to save 4 to 5 bottles of heavenly wine. That would be worth 20 million battlefield merit points. Therefore, the cultivation notes about the illusion field were quite good for Long Yu. It was worth it to buy these materials. All that was left were 2 complementary materials. One was about the origin of the Outer God tribe, and the other was detailed information about the Eclipse Moon Ancient region. The former was a problem that Long Yu had encountered in the past, and it would definitely be related to him in the future. After all, he now had all the Outer God tribe's holy objects, except for the Ice God tribe's creatures. These were things that the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor had snatched from the Outer God tribe. In the past, Long Yu had heard that the foreign god race was born from some god's relic, and that god's relic was the origin of the foreign god race, and the relic of the foreign god race was related to that god's relic. If he collected those holy objects and went to the divine relic, something might happen. Therefore, Long Yu was very curious about this. He also read the additional materials carefully. After reading it, his brows furrowed. Chapter 1480. The Demigod College had also recorded a lot of information about the Outer God clans, which was divided into several large chunks and recorded in a jade slip. It was mainly about the origin, classification, and history of major events of the Outer God clans. Tao Yi handed over the information in these 3 aspects to Long Yu, which showed that he was quite conscientious. After reading the information, Long Yu felt that it was a bit tricky. It was quite difficult for him to get his hands on the rumored relics of the ancient god with the holy objects in his hands. First of all, the origin of the Outer God clans. In this regard, the Human Clan and the Demon Clan had also investigated a lot of information, which was basically close to the truth. Tens of millions of years ago, the Dragon Clan was still active in this world, and the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor was one of the leaders of the Dragon Clan. At that time, the Outer God clans had not yet been born. Suddenly, one day, in a hidden corner of the ancient god relic, there was an outbreak of ancient god-level power. In that outbreak, the Outer God clans were born, and the holy objects of various Outer God clans were born at the same time. When the Outer God relic was just born, the major races were extremely united, including the Ice God clan, the Fire God clan, the Winged God clan, the Desolate God clan, the Earth God clan, and so on. In addition, there were so many of them that no one knew where they came from. Surrounding the ancient God relic, these Outer God clans rapidly expanded outwards and eliminated several races that originally lived nearby. The territories of the Human Clan and the Demon Clan were also occupied by those Outer God clans. Later, when the Outer God clans were powerful to a certain extent, they finally split up. The Ice God clan, the Fire God clan, the Earth God clan, and so on became independent and became different races. Only under such circumstances did the Juyo Dragon Emperor finally find an opportunity to rob the holy objects of those Outer God clans one by one and take them for his own, provoking all the Outer God clans. However, the Outer God clans that had already split up could not unite at this time. Between the Ice God clan and the Fire God clan, there was already a great hatred that could not be reconciled. Both sides wanted to kill each other. Although they were very angry that their sacred object had been stolen, they did not unite with each other. After all, the sacred object of their tribe was only a memento to them. It was just a sacred object that accompanied their tribe's birth. Even if it was taken away, they would not suffer any loss. However, the hatred between the Fire God clan and the Ice God clan had been accumulating for a long time. There were countless deaths and injuries in their fights. Even if the higher-ups wanted to unite, the ordinary members of the Ice Fire God clan would not be willing to do so. Over time, in such a chaotic situation, the holy items of the various races were occupied by the Juyo Dragon Emperor, and the various alien races did not join forces to fight for them. If they didn't join hands, they wouldn't be able to invade the territory of the human race and search the netherworld realm wantonly. As for the extinction of the dragon race, and the death of the Juyo Dragon Emperor, as one of the strongest of them, was not recorded in the materials about the alien races. It was only mentioned once or twice, and no details were told to Long Yu. This aroused Long Yu's curiosity again. However, regarding the extinction of the dragon race, it was impossible even in the database of the demonic colleges. Long Yu was very clear about this, because he had mentioned it in a casual conversation with Consort Yu, and Consort Yu was obviously very familiar with the database of the demonic colleges. She could be sure that the extinction of the dragon race was an unsolved mystery. With the current power of the human race and the demon race, it was impossible to find out the secret about the extinction of the dragon race. As for the classification of the alien races, the human demonic colleges recorded that when the alien races were first born, there were a total of 12 races, including the Ice God clan and the Fire God clan. However, later, due to external attacks and internal conflicts, there were only 6 races left in the end. The Ice God clan, the Fire God clan, the Desolate God clan, the Winged God clan, the Earth God clan, and the Wood God clan. Among the 6 alien races, the Ice God clan, the Fire God clan, and the Desolate God clan bordered the territory of the human race and the demon race. The other 3 were relatively far away, but they would occasionally make a detour to cause trouble for the human race and the demon race. As for what the other 6 races were, Long Yu knew a little before, but he was not very clear about them. Now he understood everything from the information. In addition to these 6 alien races, there were 6 other alien races that had been extinct. They were the Thunder God clan, the Light God clan, the Shadow God clan, the Berserk God clan, the Sea God clan, and the Empty God clan. These 6 alien races had been extinct, but Long Yu had heard of the Thunder God clan. This was because he had found the sacred relic of the Thunder God clan in the netherworld realm of the Juyo Dragon Emperor. It was a hexagonal ice crystal that flashed with lightning. Now, the sacred relic of the Ice God clan had been taken away by the demon race's battlefield army on Long Yu's body. However, there were still 6 other sacred relic of the alien races. In addition to the sacred relic of the Thunder God clan, there were also the sacred relic of the Fire God clan, the Desolate God clan, the Winged God clan, the Wood God clan, and the Earth God clan. Long Yu did not know where the sacred relic of the 5 extinct races were. Perhaps no one in this world knew. Even if there was an existence that knew the whereabouts of the sacred relic, it was definitely not a human or a demon. It was precisely because of the lack of the 5 sacred relic that the Juyo Dragon Emperor did not search for the ancient god's ruins. The reason why Long Yu frowned was that he was actually missing 5 sacred relic of the alien races. Originally, he thought that he had gathered all of them. Now, it seemed that it would not be so easy to find the ancient god's ruins to trigger the opportunity. Shaking his head, Long Yu did not think too much about it. This matter was still relatively far away from him. Even if he had gathered 12 sacred relic of the alien races, it was impossible for him to go to the ancient god's ruins. It should be known that the ancient god's ruins were located in the center of the existing 6 alien races' territories. Even the alien races did not know if they would survive if they went there. It was a place of war between the 6 alien races' territories. Not to mention, a human like Long Yu would go there. Without the strength of the Juyo Dragon Emperor, going to that place would definitely be courting death. Just like the battlefield between the human race, the demon race, and the alien races was the battlefield of the alien races, the ancient god's ruins were the battlefield between the 6 alien races. On the other hand, the area near the Void Galaxy, where Long Yu and the others were currently developing, was a peaceful area. There did not seem to be any conflicts between the 3 alien races nearby. They must have signed some kind of peace treaty. This also made the Void Galaxy relatively safe, and the surrounding environment was relatively calm, which was extremely suitable for cultivation. Next, Long Yu looked up information about the Eclipse Ancient Domain. There was a lot of information about the Eclipse Moon Ancient Domain. About several 100,000 years ago, it was discovered by a small team of foreign races in a hidden corner. Then, the news spread, and more than 100 foreign races in the surrounding area knew about the existence of the Eclipse Moon Ancient Domain, including the human race and the demon race. Approximately 140 clans began to fight for the eroding Moon Ancient region. After all, it was the inheritance land of the gods, and everyone wanted it for themselves. As long as one of their clans could step into the realm of the gods, they would undoubtedly rise above all the other clans. However, the battle soon came to an end. That was because all the experts who went to the 3 galaxies near the eroding Moon Ancient region discovered that their cultivation base had been forcefully suppressed to the Divinity Secret realm. Even if they were super experts in the demigod realm, they could be killed by the experts from the Monarch Path Secret realm or the Sovereign realm in the 3 galaxies. This situation made the demigod experts of the various races feel a chill. Therefore, they gathered together and made an agreement that the Eclipse Ancient Domain was a public area. After entering the Eclipse Ancient Domain, no one was allowed to attack others maliciously until they entered the Eclipse Ancient Domain. The Eclipse Ancient Domain was located in a place extremely far away from the territory of the human race and the demon race. In this world, planets and galaxies were 2 basic names. For example, the territory of the demon race was made up of hundreds of galaxies, and each galaxy had tens of thousands of planets. Above the galaxies, there was another name, and that was the star zone. Between the galaxies was a complete void, and between the star zone was also a complete void. Moreover, this void was much vaster. Even if a demigod expert flew for 100 years, he might not be able to reach another star zone. The human race, the demon race, the foreign god race, the abyss race, the soul race, and so on. These races all lived in the same star zone. This star zone was called the Langia star zone by the human race and the demon race. In the Langia star zone, there were a total of more than 40 races living and occupying all the territories. Near the Langia star zone were 2 other star zones, the Wild Sand star zone and the Heavenly Dipper star zone. The Eclipse Ancient Domain was located between the 2 star zones and the Langia star zone. In the extremely vast void, 3 galaxies and the Eclipse Ancient Domain's ruins floated alone. The eroding Moon Ancient Domain would open once every 20 years, and it could be considered as one of the ruins that opened quite frequently. Every time the eroding Moon Ancient Domain opened, geniuses from more than 140 clans from the 3 surrounding star fields would participate, including the human clan and the demon clan. It wasn't difficult to go to the eroding moon ancient domain. The human race and the demon race both had the coordinates of the place. The time and space jade chips created by demigod experts could directly teleport to the 3 galaxies near the eroding moon ancient domain. Only the demigod experts could create such a powerful time and space jade chip that could travel across the void. After reading the information, Long, you had a stronger feeling that the human race and the demon race were just living in a remote place. Outside the territories of the human race and the demon race, there was a boundless world. Now, Long, you also understood why the victims' union hadn't come to the human race and the demon race for a long time. Because the territories of the human race and the demon race were located at the edge of the Langus star zone. Because of this, after the human race and the demon race joined hands, they only needed to defend against the attacks from the alien races from one direction, which was the battlefield of the alien races. Behind the territories of the 2 races was the endless void. Beyond that was another unknown star zone. The human race and the demon race only knew that the dragon clan came from that star zone. They didn't know anything else. Some people tried to go to another star zone to explore, but they had to turn back halfway. Because if they kept going in that direction, they would encounter a space-time crack that connected the sky and the earth. It was impossible for them to go through. It was also because of this that the extinction of the Dragon Clan became extremely mysterious. The Human Clan and the Demon Clan could not find out anything at all. Chapter 1481. After Long, you returned to his personal space from the database. He began to use some of the creations he had purchased previously to absorb the power of creation within them, preparing to raise his martial arts realm. After all, he was still at the level of a first-stage great ruler. However, after absorbing these creations, his cultivation base had reached the level of a second-stage great ruler. His basic strength had increased by more than 3 times in an instant. Moreover, Long, you still had 4 bottles of Soul Transcendence wine on him. Combined with the cultivation experience of the real fantasy field that he had just obtained, he might be able to fully comprehend the grade 1 divine formation of the real fantasy field within a short 7 days. If he could learn it earlier, he would gain a lot more experience in using this move, which would be of great help to him during his trip to the eroding Moon Ancient domain. Therefore, after Long you reached the second stage Sovereign Realm, he didn't stop at all. He immediately started to familiarize himself with the cultivation experience of the illusory field. After all, it was the cultivation experience of over 10 people. Everyone's understanding of the technique was different. This allowed Long Yu's understanding of the grade 1 god formation to increase. Moreover, it would save him a lot of time in the future. It took 3 days for Long Yu to finish reading all of the cultivation notes. After that, he drank the first bottle of Soulspan wine. When he woke up a day later, he would self-detonate and rebuild his fleshly body before drinking the second bottle. A total of 4 bottles of heavenly wine took Long Yu 4 days to make full use of them. Not a single drop was wasted. When Long Yu woke up on the 4th day, he finally realized that he had completely comprehended this first-grade god array. When it came to god formations, there was no such thing as a degree of comprehension. If one didn't succeed in comprehending it, they wouldn't be able to use it, or if one comprehended it thoroughly, they would be able to use it. Now that Long Yu had comprehended this grade 1 god formation, he could already use it. It was impossible for an ordinary cultivator to comprehend a grade 1 divine formation like the real illusion field within 7 days. Even if others had countless bottles of soul-connecting wine and countless cultivation experiences, they would not be able to reach this level. The main reason was because of Long Yu's Devil Dust Heart. The effect of this secret martial art was simply too heaven-defying. It could clear away the physical fatigue of medicinal pills and soul-connecting wine, so that when the same medicinal pill was consumed and another bottle of soul-connecting wine, the effect would not be weakened. If it were anyone else, no matter how much they drank, they would only be able to save less than a year at most. Moreover, they would only be able to achieve this effect for the rest of their lives. Long Yu, on the other hand, had already drunk a lot of divine wine to comprehend the enlightenment-level divine text of the Nine Nether. If he continued to drink now, he would still be able to achieve 100% of the effect. This was the natural advantage of Long Yu's current strength. This advantage was also one of the reasons why Geo Dragon Emperor had reached the peak of the demigod level. Even Geo Dragon Emperor had not told this martial art to anyone, not even his closest subordinates or the Nine Nether messengers. Whether it was the Envoy of Death or the Shura Emissary, they had only learned the balance control that Geo Dragon Emperor had cultivated. As for the body of purity and the Devil Dust Heart, they had never cultivated them. But now, Long Yu had imparted the Demon Dust Heart to Moon Song and Red Oriole. In the future, he would probably impart it to other people in the Star River Void. This was because these two secret martial arts techniques, especially the Demon Dust Heart, could significantly increase a cultivator's combat power. In order to improve the overall strength of the entire Void Galaxy, the Devil Dust Heart alone could increase it by at least 30%. It was obvious how effective it was. In any case, Long Yu did not mainly rely on this thing to fight. No matter what, it was impossible for others to enter the core space of a Nine Hell tablet and imprint those mysterious patterns in their minds. This was the biggest advantage that Long Yu had over others. Now that I've finished cultivating the real illusion field, all I need is actual combat. Long Yu thought to himself. Then, he left his personal space and prepared for more difficult training. Among the 7 levels of Great Rulers, the first and second level Great Rulers were called low-level Great Rulers. The third, fourth, and fifth level Great Rulers were called middle-level Great Rulers. The 6th and 7th level Great Rulers were called high-level Great Rulers. Previously, when Long Yu and the others accepted the Demigod Academy training mission, they encountered foreign races that were middle-level Great Rulers. Now, as their strength increased, they could try to deal with foreign races that were high-level Great Rulers. This kind of Demigod Academy training mission was called advanced training. Generally speaking, the truly difficult training missions in the Demigod Academy were all in the advanced training. Occasionally, there would be high-difficulty intermediate training missions like dealing with 5th-level Great Rulers of the Soul Race, but they were very rare. Among the 100 or so current students of the Demigod Academy, more than 70 of them were high-level Great Rulers, and more than 100 of them were in the advanced training missions. It could be said that the original Long Yu's group of 3 didn't have many people fighting over their quests. After all, most people didn't care too much about intermediate experience quests. Most of them went to accept advanced experience quests. Moreover, in terms of the number of experience quests, advanced experience quests were much more numerous than intermediate experience quests. When the foreign races sent some of their members to the human race and the demon race's territory to cause trouble, they would naturally send some high-level Great Rulers. Only high-level Great Rulers could adapt to certain situations and accomplish their goals. Therefore, from now on, Long Yu and the others could be considered to have stepped into the mainstream of the Demigod Academy. Originally, the strength of the 3 of them could be said to be at the bottom of the Demigod Academy. But now, Long Yu had enough confidence that if he really went all out, even if he didn't use the 9 Hell Tablet, he could still fight against more than half of the Demigod Academy students. Now, the key restricting his strength was the Martial Path realm. Unfortunately, if he wanted to step into the 3rd level Great Ruler realm, on one hand, his foundation was not enough, and his strength was not stable enough. If he forcefully increased his strength, it would probably lead to a bad foundation. On the other hand, he didn't have that many creations. If he wanted to increase from the 2nd level Great Ruler to the 3rd level Great Ruler, he would need to buy at least 80 million battlefield army merit points in order to expand the small world to that extent. Therefore, the current Long Yu couldn't really afford it. Once he bought it, he would completely become a pauper. Buying the creations, elixirs, and divine wine before had already used up most of his battlefield army merit points. Not to mention that there would still be a batch of divine wine on the shelves after the end of the academic year, in 2 months. Of course, basically no one would compete for this batch of divine wine. After all, other people couldn't drink divine wine without limit like Long Yu. Just like the previous academic year, there would definitely be a lot of divine wine left. Long Yu was prepared to monopolize this batch of divine wine. In order to prevent any accidents, he definitely had to save up enough battlefield army merit points. After arriving at the mission hall, Long Yu quickly met up with Moon Song and Red Oriole. He learned about the two girls' cultivation situation in the past 7 days. The two women had absorbed the item of creation and raised their martial Dao realms to the 4th stage Great Ruler realm before drinking the soul-connecting wine. Just like Long Yu, Red Oriole drank 4 bottles of divine wine. She also listened to Long Yu's advice and went to the database to get some information about the Thousand Gates Soul Lock God formation. In the past few days, she had also finished cultivating the Thousand Gates Soul Lock God formation. At the moment, it seems like the Thousand Gates Soul Lock God formation is more useful than an unbounded martial technique like Devil Shadow Bind. But that's only if Devil Shadow Bind reaches the transcendent level. Red Oriole said to Long Yu. Moon Song, on the other hand, had drunk 2 bottles of soul-connecting wine, which allowed her to comprehend 2 second-grade god formations. She would be able to try them out in the upcoming training. Since you're ready, let's head out. With that, Long Yu led the 2 girls into the hall and began to pick out high-level missions. Previously, they had been choosing mid-level missions. Now that they were finally in the high-level area, they attracted quite a bit of attention. Did you see that? That Long Yu, who just enrolled this year, is actually choosing high-level missions. And he's only a 2nd-level Great Ruler. So what? Don't you see that the 2 girls beside him are both 4th-level Great Rulers? I heard that this Long Yu has some special ability, so it's normal for him to pick high-level missions. After all, he's even stalled an outsider demigod before. They won't be so lucky every time. High-level missions aren't something rookies like them can complete. Although the rewards of high-level missions are generous, they still need to be alive to claim them. Quite a few people were secretly discussing this. Of course, none of this was known to Long Yu and the others. After all, they were all students of the Demigod Institute. Very few people would openly mock and ridicule others. During the selection process, Long Yu felt quite a few gazes directed at him. However, he never cared about what others thought, so he didn't care. He didn't pay attention to the people around him at all. Soon, he locked onto one of the high-level missions. This mission's rewards were quite high, and it seemed to be a special mission. However, the opponent was only an ordinary outsider from the Ice God clan. The number of Ice Gods that would have a 6th-level Great Ruler was unknown. The location was the Lushan clan in the human territory. Logically speaking, Long Yu should be very familiar with the Lushan galaxy, where the Lushan clan was located. However, to be honest, he didn't know anything about it at all. Previously, the Nine Netherworld was located in the Lushan Celestial River, but when Long Yu came out of the Nine Netherworld, he directly went to the demon race's territory and did not do anything in the Lushan Celestial River. He only knew that the Nine Nether Celestial River was next to the Lushan Celestial River, and that the Nine Nether clan that concubine you had left as a sacred maiden was in the Nine Nether Celestial River. Red Oriole immediately started deducing based on the aura left on the Jade ship of the mission. She also activated the special martial arts of the Blood Demon clan to enhance her deduction ability. After such a long time, Red Oriole had cultivated the naturally endowed secret art of the Blood Demon clan to the peak of the 9th level. It was a pity that the secret art of the Blood Demon clan that had reached the peak of the 9th level turned out to be an active means of protection. She could conceal the traces of the aura of herself and those around her for a certain period of time, making it impossible for other people to infer her presence. However, after cultivating the secret art of the Blood Demon clan to the peak, Red Oriole's deduction ability was much stronger than before. Very soon, she had deduced a few results. The spy squad of the Ice God clan, after arriving at the Lushan Star River, had dispersed and fled in all directions. In this way, it was impossible to catch them all at once. Moreover, the final results of my deduction are somewhat vague. They only point to a specific direction and a rough distance, and they are only accurate to a range of 10 kilometers. If there's a planet in that place, and there is a city on the planet, then my deduction is almost useless. Red Oriole frowned and said, I see. No wonder even the Garrison Legion found it tricky to deal with them. Longy nodded and narrowed his eyes. He had a rough idea of what was going on. The spy squad of the Ice God clan who had come to the Lushan Star River must have cultivated some kind of martial arts technique, divine formation, or secret art of martial arts. Anyway, they had a certain method to make their aura and figure blurry. As for disguising themselves as humans, this method was not a problem at all. In a situation where they could not deduce the specific location of the other party, it was indeed very difficult to catch them. Moreover, once the other party launched some fierce attacks, the entire human clan would definitely suffer heavy losses. What they were afraid of was not that the other party would forcibly make trouble in the Lushan clan or use brute force to cause trouble, but that the other party would hide in the crowd and gradually have some penetrative influence on the human clan society. This would also allow them to understand more about the internal affairs of the human clan's territory, which would allow them to steal a lot of useful information. And this was the purpose of the spy squad of the Ice God clan. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Therefore, in the process of fighting with the alien clan, it was also very important to understand the living conditions of the other party's ordinary people. Not only would the Ice God clan send spy squads to the human clan's territory, but the human clan and the demon clan would also send some extremely hidden squads to the alien clan's territory. Let's choose a direction first. Let's go and see what's going on. After long, you said this to Red Oriole. Red Oriole nodded and pointed in a direction in the distance. Then, Long you let the two women enter his miniature world, while he entered the inner space of the Nether Dragon Dagger, and let the Nether Dragon Dagger take him in that direction. Now that Long Yu's martial arts realm had increased, the power of the Nether Dragon Dagger that he could unleash was also stronger, and the distance it could travel through space was getting further and further. He could teleport 7 or 8 million kilometers in one go. However, at this speed, he would still not be able to travel through the Milky Way in an instant. The closest direction that Red Oriole had pointed in was 500 million kilometers away. Therefore, even if the Nether Dragon Dagger kept teleporting, it would still take about a quarter of an hour to arrive. After all, the Nether Dragon Dagger needed to accumulate power to teleport through space. After a quarter of an hour, what appeared in front of Long Yu was a deep blue planet. Including this planet, there were a total of 4 other cultivation planets, and in the distance was a source of divine runes. This source of divine runes emitted the aura of light attribute divine runes. It seemed to be some sort of light attribute divine rune. From this source of divine runes, one could comprehend source-level divine runes. This was the strongest power of divine runes besides revelation-level divine runes. Thus, to the common people, divine runes could be called a sacred existence. This was also the most fundamental driving force behind the development of humanity and the monster race. After all, those that could comprehend the power of the 5 elements or even revelation-level divine runes were extremely rare even in the entirety of humanity and the monster race. Longy didn't think too much about the source of divine runes. In any case, this didn't have much significance to him. The direction and distance that Red Oriole had pointed out just happened to be this deep blue planet in front of him. On the periphery of this planet, there was a light blue barrier of divine runes. This was a defensive barrier array that many planets had. It was driven by the strength of the entire planet and was used to defend the entire planet. It was an essential defensive system for any cultivation planet. Before, whether it was the monster race or the human race, Long had basically seen such a barrier on every cultivation planet. I wonder how the members of the Ice God clan spy team broke through such a barrier. Long was a bit puzzled. Even for him, He could only rely on the Book of Shadows to completely transform into nothingness and pass through such a barrier. Otherwise, it would be impossible to silently pass through the barrier and arrive at the surface of the cultivation planet. However, if Long Yu had such a method, it meant that others also had methods with similar effects. After all, the 7 great innate spirit fruits appeared at random. No one could guarantee that others didn't have methods similar to the Book of Shadows. However, if this batch of Ice God Clan scouts were all hidden in these cultivation planets, then the method to pass through the barrier would definitely not be innate spirit powers. It should be some kind of martial arts secret technique, divine formation, or martial arts technique. Otherwise, it was impossible for all the Ice God Clan scouts to have such methods. Let's go up and take a look. Right now, Long Yu is completely unimpeded in the territory of the human race and the demon race. He only needed to rely on the first-class honor medal in his hand. In any case, this medal couldn't be falsely claimed by others. There was a mark on it that the demigod had personally made for Long Yu. If Long Yu didn't have it himself, this first-class honor medal would directly explode, and the possibility of others stealing it would be eliminated. With the first-class honor medal, Long Yu and the others easily passed through the barrier and then landed on the surface of the deep blue cultivation planet. This planet looked somewhat familiar to Long Yu, and he couldn't help but smile. Wasn't this what the planet looked like before he was reincarnated into this world? It was the same blue color, and more than 70% of it was the ocean. Long Yu shook his head. Without any hesitation, he flew in the direction and distance that Red Oriole had deduced. After traveling at top speed through the clouds for a while, he soon arrived at the place. Long Yu looked down and found that there was indeed a city by the coast. As expected, it's hidden in the city. This is going to be a bit troublesome. Long Yu frowned slightly. After searching this place, even Red Oriole's divination ability could no longer continue to investigate. The next operation was likely to take a very long time without any results. After all, the range was 5 kilometers, and how many people were coming and going within the range of 10 kilometers of the city? It was absolutely possible that there were tens of thousands of people. After all, the city below was quite a prosperous coastal city. Let's go down first. We'll make plans when we reach the city. Long Yu said to the 2 girls, and the 3 of them landed on the city. Chapter 1483. The city that Long Yu and the others had arrived at was next to a vast beach, and the traffic was extremely prosperous. When the 3 of them first arrived, they didn't know that something was happening in a certain corner of the city that was closely related to their mission objective. In the southern part of the city, near the coast, there was a rather high-class restaurant. The entire restaurant was luxuriously decorated, and only the wealthy and respectable cultivators were allowed to enter. Only those who had reached the Great Ruler Realm or higher were qualified to enter the restaurant. At this moment, in one of the private rooms of the restaurant, there were several young masters from the city's first-rate factions chatting merrily. There was a total of 4 young masters sitting at a jade table. As they conversed, their gazes were all focused on one person. That person was a beautiful woman dressed in rather revealing clothes. Her figure was graceful and enchanting, and her beautiful eyes were filled with shyness. She accompanied the young masters as they drank. Every movement of hers had a special attraction, and the attention of the 4 young masters was completely drawn to her. Lady Luo really has a good capacity for alcohol. We've roamed the wine scene for so many years, but we've never seen a woman with such a high capacity for alcohol. Ha! One of the young masters laughed heartily. He seemed to admire the woman very much. That's right. The alcohol in this coastal restaurant is all self-brewed, and it's very powerful. Even some 7th-stage Sovereign Realm experts would get drunk from drinking it. But Lady Luo isn't drunk at all. I can't help but admire her. Another young master was also very impressed. At the same time, his gaze towards the beautiful woman was filled with a strong desire to possess her. It was very clear that the 4 young masters present were very powerful in this city. Since they all had their eyes on the same woman, the competition between them would be very intense. These four young masters were already existences in the sovereign realm. They were young and promising, and their martial Dao talent was extremely high. In this city, they were known as the four young masters of Jiangxia. Jiangxia City was the name of this coastal city. The four young masters of Jiangxia represented the four strongest factions in Jiangxia City. They cooperated with each other, but also competed with each other. Although it was only a woman, the four young masters of Jiangxia attached great importance to her. If they could get their hands on this woman, it would mean that they were superior to the other three young masters. At the very least, he was superior in a certain aspect. Thus, as they fought, their gazes were directed at the beautiful woman. Although the woman looked alluring, there was a hint of immaturity in her words. It tugged at one's heartstrings, causing one to be unable to help but want to protect her. This woman seemed to be only at the first-level sovereign realm. She had been invited to this restaurant for 4 consecutive days. However, the four gentlemen of Jiangxia didn't do anything excessive in the first 3 days because this woman wasn't the kind of woman who would casually flirt with others. This was what drove the four young masters of Jiangxia crazy. If it was a woman who would roll into their bed with a wave of their hand, they really wouldn't care. However, this beautiful woman in front of them really didn't seem to think highly of their status as the four young masters of Jiangxia. She wasn't like the other women who were crazy about building a relationship with the four young masters of Jiangxia. However, at this moment, the situation finally took a turn for the better. One of the four young masters of Jiangxia was known as Young Master Northmoon. He was the son of the patriarch of a large organization in the city, the Northmoon clan. After spending 3 days together, he believed he had already grasped some of the woman's preferences. After all, when they were drinking today, the woman would frequently cast him ambiguous glances, which made him extremely confident in his senses. "Let's end the banquet here today. I'll be going back first." The woman glanced at the sky and said to the four of them rather shyly. The four of them obviously did not dare to stop her, but young Master Northmoon saw the woman secretly cast him an ambiguous glance before turning around and leaving. "Miss Luo, are you hinting something to me?" Young Master Northmoon was extremely excited, but he did not move in a hurry. Instead, he bid farewell to the other three young masters leisurely like he usually did before returning alone. Along the way back to the Northmoon clan, he discovered that Miss Luo had indeed appeared up ahead. Moreover, she smiled at him, and a jade slip directly flew over from her hand. Young Master Northmoon caught it and took a look. He discovered a few words written on it. "Wait for me at home." This made young Master Northmoon overjoyed. He never thought he would finally succeed today. As for how Miss Luo would be able to go to the Northmoon clan to find him, he was not worried at all, as he had already given her a tablet that allowed her to pass through the Northmoon clan. At night, young Master Northmoon waited at home, and the woman that he yearned for day and night, Miss Luo, really did come as she had promised, entering his room. In the middle of the night, there were only the two of them in the room. They were a man and a woman alone, so it only made sense that something would happen. However, the entire matter was not as simple as young Master Northmoon imagined it to be. After that night, young Master Northmoon would no longer be the same young Master Northmoon as before. Long Yu, Red Oriole, and Moon Song arrived in Jiangxia City. Following the location that Red Oriole had predicted, they arrived near a place called the Northmoon clan. Red Oriole's predictions could only reach a distance of 5 kilometers. In other words, the range of 5 kilometers around the Northmoon clan could be the range of movement of the ice god lurking here. And, due to the usage of her powers of divination, it was very likely that they had discovered Long Yu, Moon Song, and Moon Song already. However, this did not matter. It was not like Red Oriole's abilities of divination could guarantee that she had locked onto their rough location. If they changed locations, it would be even easier for them to find them. It's night now. Let's find a place to stay for the night first. It won't be that easy to find the ice god spy who's disguised and hidden. Long Yu said to the two girls. The two girls obviously agreed to this. The three of them found an ordinary inn and casually paid some contribution from the army to book 2 rooms. Long Yu had a room for himself, while Red Oriole and Moonsong shared a room. Originally, Long Yu wanted to stay with Red Oriole, but unfortunately, Red Oriole turned him down, which left Long Yu rather puzzled. Of course, this did not affect the progress of the mission. It was purely because Long Yu wanted to do something. When they checked into the inn, Long Yu constantly used the secret technique of balance control to investigate everyone he saw, just in case the ice god spy might be hiding among them. However, he discovered nothing the entire time. In the room, Long Yu rested as he made the Void Shadow Dragon Dagger stand guard. He would notify him immediately if anything happened. In the middle of the night, some activity suddenly rang out from the room next door. Long Yu woke up and was in high spirits. He could tell that someone had come to the inn to capture people, and they were the 3 of them. Red Oriole and Moonsong were the first to bear the brunt of the attack. They were already facing a large group of martial experts in the city. Long Yu didn't hesitate as he walked out of the door. With a single glance, he saw a large group of Sovereign Realm experts standing in front of Moonsong and Red Oriole's room, trying to capture them. "What's going on?" Long Yu frowned and asked directly. "They say they're from some Northmoon clan. Someone reported us to be up to no good in Jiangxia City, so they want to capture us and interrogate us." Red Oriole sneered disdainfully. It was obvious that if she and Moonsong worked together, these fellows who were at the same realm of martial arts as the 2 women definitely wouldn't be a match for them. However, the 2 sides hadn't reached the point of fighting yet. "That's right. Can you prove that you're not up to no good in Jiangxia City? If you can't, then you better come back with us obediently. If you're really innocent, when we get to the Northmoon clan, we'll obviously let you go." One of the human cultivators, who was a rank 5 great ruler, turned his head and said to Long Yu, "The report said there were 3 people. It should be the 3 of you. So, are you going to come with us obediently, or do you want us to do it? Someone reported us?" Long Yu was immediately rather puzzled when he heard this. The 3 of them had clearly just arrived on this planet. How could someone report them for harming the city? Moreover, the Northmoon clan was the organization nearby. It was rumored that the Northmoon clan alone had more than 5 powerful cultivators who were at the rank 7 ruler level. If they were captured and sent to the Northmoon clan, even Long Yu, Red Oriole, and Moonsong might not necessarily be able to escape. Long Yu's first reaction was to take out a first-class honor badge and make them leave quickly. However, upon further thought, there was only one possibility on this planet that knew they had returned and was targeting them: the powerful spies of the Ice God clan. In other words, the Ice God clan was hiding in the Northmoon clan? With that thought, Long Yu no longer planned on resisting. He shook his head at Red Oriole and Moonsong before saying to the cultivators of the Northmoon clan, "If that's the case, lead the way. You can ask anything you want, and we'll answer truthfully. However, if there's nothing wrong with us, you can't keep us here." Of course. The leader of the group from the Northmoon clan chuckled and directly waved his hand. "I'd advise you not to even think about escaping. In Jiangxia City, no one can escape from our Northmoon clan. However, once we prove that there's nothing wrong with you, we'll definitely let you go." Moonsong and Red Oriole glanced at Long Yu. They could also tell what Long Yu was planning. Long Yu planned on using this opportunity to enter the Northmoon clan and carefully investigate what was going on. It was very likely that the person they were looking for was hiding in the Northmoon clan and had already gained control over some of the clan's forces, which was why the Northmoon clan had mobilized their forces to capture Long Yu, Red Oriole, and Moonsong. Clearly, they were unfamiliar with Long Yu, Red Oriole, and Moonsong's identities. As such, it was extremely likely that they were the powerful spies from the Ice God clan. Chapter 1484. Jiangxia City, Northmoon Prefecture. Long Yu, Red Oriole, and Moonsong were brought to the Northmoon Prefecture. They were looking forward to seeing the hidden Ice God spy, but unfortunately, he obviously would not appear in person. When they arrived at the Northmoon Prefecture, the person they saw was young Master Northmoon, a young human genius known as one of the 4 young masters of Jiangxia. He was called a genius, but that was only within the boundaries of Jiangxia City. Of course, across the entire planet, young Master Northmoon's talent in martial arts could be regarded as very impressive. However, compared to Long Yu and the others, he was nowhere close. After bringing Long Yu, Moon Song, and Moon Song to the Northmoon Prefecture, the group of people settled them in a room. Very soon, they saw young Master Northmoon of the 4 young masters of Jiangxia. "May I ask why you've come to my Jiangxia city?" Young Master Northmoon had a graceful bearing. A faint smile hung on his handsome face as he appeared before Long Yu, Moon Song, and Moon Song. Afterwards, he asked them a question. Long Yu squinted his eyes and carefully studied young Master Northmoon. He did not discover anything strange about him. He was definitely a very ordinary young human genius. It was impossible for him to be a spy from the Ice God clan. Right now, aside from young Master Northmoon, there were also the rulers of the Northmoon Prefecture before Long Yu and the others. However, there were no 7th-rank rulers, as it was very clear that while young Master Northmoon was a genius of the Northmoon Prefecture, he was still unable to mobilize a 7th-rank ruler. There were over 5 7th-rank rulers in the entire Northmoon Prefecture, but none of them were before Long Yu and the others. The strongest among them was the captain of the guards, who was a 5th-rank ruler. As for young Master Northmoon, he was a 3rd-rank ruler. He was already slightly older than Long Yu. It had already been over 40 years since he began cultivating. Reaching 3rd-rank ruler was very impressive for regular people, but compared to Long Yu, Red Oriole, and the others, he paled in comparison. What? Outsiders can't even come to a place like Jiangxia City. We're being interrogated as soon as we arrive. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile. Young Master Northmoon was unfazed. He shook his head. If you were an ordinary person, I would obviously welcome you. However, according to reports, you've come to our Jiangxia city with ill intentions. You must be up to no good. Before you cause any damage to Jiangxia city, this young master will first subdue you. This is for the benefit of the people of Jiangxia city. I wonder who reported us? Long Yu found this rather funny. Young Master Northmoon, can you tell me? Is this something you can inquire about? Young Master Northmoon sneered in disdain. Jijiu, stay here and keep a close eye on these 3. If they do anything reckless, contact me. Yes. The captain of the Northmoon Prefecture's guards called Jiu nodded. He was a human who was a 5th-phase ruler, so his battle prowess should be very powerful. However, in terms of battle prowess, Long Yu and the other 2 were not afraid of these people at all. However, they did not want to make a big deal out of this for now. Finding the hidden ice god spy definitely would not be that easy. However, very soon, Long Yu discovered that if he did nothing right now, he would just be waiting for the opportunity to slip away. This was because at this moment, Red Oriole suddenly discovered that the ice god's aura had already departed into the distance through divination. They left the Northmoon Prefecture and headed elsewhere. Clearly, the Ice God clan spies were ready to move to another location after restraining Long Yu and the others. In other words, has young Master Northmoon already been subdued by the Ice God spy? Long Yu thought to himself as he narrowed his eyes. He had his own plans regarding the current situation. There was no need for him to forcefully break out of the Northmoon Prefecture. He only needed to use some tricks, and he would be able to leave this place easily. He would not alarm anyone either. Red Oriole, you stay here for now. I'll go investigate with Moon Song. After all, you're the source of divination. If you do anything, it's possible for them to sense you. But if Moon Song and I move, they won't sense us. Long Yu instructed Red Oriole. Red Oriole nodded. All right, go ahead. I'll stay here and do my best to prevent them from discovering you've already left. They were placed under house arrest in a room. Outside the room, there was a 5th-phase Great Dominator, the 9 Extreme Moon Guard captain, and his men standing guard. With just their group of people, it was impossible for them to stop Long Yu from leaving. Very soon, Long Yu and Moon Song each created a mirror image of themselves. They appeared in a corner of the room and sat down. Long Yu had used the primordial shadow technique, while Moonsong obviously had her own technique to create mirror images. This was a piece of cake for the two of them. Afterwards, Moonsong arrived in Long Yu's miniature world, while Long Yu turned invisible and left the room silently. He directly flew in the direction that Red Oriole had mentioned. Since they could control young Master Northmoon in Jiangxia City, they probably did not want to leave the city for now. It was very likely that they wanted to use the organizations they controlled to eliminate Long Yu and the others. After all, it was very likely that the impersonator of the Ice God clan had already guessed that Long Yu and the others had come to hunt them down. As a result, Long Yu needed to move even faster. With Moonsong, he turned invisible very quickly and left the Northmoon Prefecture. Anyone who touched him would be disrespecting the demigods of humans and demons. That woman seems to be a rank 1 ruler, but it's very likely that she's been hiding her cultivation. The 4 young masters of Jiangxia are all rank 3 rulers, so I'll leave them to you, Moonsong, to keep them busy. The 4 of them should only be temporarily controlled. Once we eliminate this woman, they should recover their senses. Long Yu said to Moonsong before preparing to deal with the mysterious woman who seemed to only be a rank 1 ruler. While the mysterious woman was reprimanding the 4 young masters of Jiangxia, Long Yu directly appeared. He raised his hand and revealed rank 9 Nether Divine, characters condensed. The 9 nether hands instantly appeared out of thin air and tried to grab the mysterious woman. Long Yu's attack came without warning. He came out of the state of nothingness, and 5 eerie white bony arms appeared out of thin air and grabbed at the mysterious woman from all directions in the room. The mysterious woman was obviously shocked, but her reaction was still extremely fast. She raised her hand, and a burst of ice attribute divine characters was activated. It condensed into 5 extremely cold ice alls, and they blasted at the 5 nether hands. The ice alls and the 9 nether hands collided, and then a terrifying vortex of power erupted, sweeping in all directions. What surprised Long Yu the most was that the walls of this VIP room were actually reinforced with several layers of divine rune crystals. Even with such a powerful explosion, it did not destroy this VIP room. It seemed that this restaurant really did have its own unique characteristics. Go! The mysterious woman issued an order to the 4 young masters of Jiangxia. The eyes of the 4 young masters of Jiangxia suddenly changed from a daze to a shrewd look. Then, they turned around and launched attacks at Long Yu. Chapter 1485. The 4 princes of Jiangxia were obviously under the control of this mysterious woman. However, now that they were fighting, the mysterious woman had released a strand of their consciousness, allowing them to unleash greater combat power. Moreover, if this battle attracted the attention of others in the luxurious restaurant, it would not arouse their suspicions. The 4 princes of Jiangxia attacked Long Yu at the same time. Moonsong immediately jumped out of Long Yu's small world and raised her hand. The power of the star runes condensed, and a second-grade god array was instantly unleashed. Stars scatter chessboard. Countless star runes condensed into dozens of star chess pieces in the luxurious private room. Then, these chess pieces each emitted a tyrannical control light that stopped the 4 princes of Jiangxia in their tracks, temporarily rendering them unable to move. This second-rank divine formation was something that Moonsong had just learned. She had obtained it from the galaxy of stars. The effect of this god array could be used both offensively and defensively. On one hand, it could restrict the movements of enemies who enter the area, and, on the other hand, it could be used to send these star chess pieces flying out to attack the enemy. Now, Moonsong was using this move to restrict the enemy's movements so that Long Yu could escape the encirclement of the 4 princes of Jiangxia. When Moonsong activated the star's scatter chessboard, Long Yu flew out of the encirclement of the 4 princes of Jiangxia. Then, he raised his hand towards the mysterious woman and condensed review-grade, divine runes of the netherworld. Boundless grasp. The The mysterious woman still wanted to distance herself from Long Yu, but Long Yu grabbed her. The boundless grasp formed by the divine runes of the netherworld instantly pulled the mysterious woman to Long Yu's side. Then, the aura of Berserker's divine runes erupted from Long Yu's body. Berserker's Descent. Berserker Fist Cannon. With one punch, the mysterious woman's body was immediately covered in a layer of frost. Then, she was shattered by Long Yu's punch. Her entire body flew out and slammed into the wall of the luxurious private room, causing the entire luxurious restaurant to tremble. It was obvious that the people outside the luxurious private room would soon sense the battle in the room. Perhaps someone would rush over. At that time, the people in the restaurant would definitely choose to help the 4 young masters of Jiangxia. Although Long Yu had a first-class honor badge, he did not dare to delay for too long. The mysterious woman was sent flying by Long Yu's punch, but because she had a layer of frost armor protecting her, she didn't suffer any serious injuries. After all, Long Yu hadn't started stacking the Berserker's heavenly power yet, so the power of the Berserker's divine rune wasn't very strong. Immediately afterwards, the mysterious woman's body erupted with the power of ice divine runes. Killing intent flashed through her eyes. This killing intent gave Long Yu a strange feeling. It was a strange killing intent that didn't seem to belong to a human. It caused Long Yu's heart to tremble. Could it be that this mysterious woman was the Ice God clan expert in disguise? This was too exaggerated. There was no difference between her and a real human. Long Yu wasn't in a hurry to come to a conclusion. In any case, what he wanted to do was to capture this mysterious woman alive. Unless he was sure that she was an expert from the Ice God clan spy team. 9 Underworld Sphere. While the mysterious woman was still preparing to use some technique, Long Yu directly raised his hand. The power of the 9 Underworld divine runes condensed into a 9 Underworld Sphere. Endless lines of 9 Underworld divine runes directly wrapped around the mysterious woman. Under the control of the 9 Underworld Sphere, the mysterious woman had no room to resist. Seeing that Long Yu was about to use a killing technique, the mysterious woman's aura suddenly rose. Originally, this mysterious woman was only at the level of a first-rank great ruler. At this moment, however, she suddenly rose to a higher level. In an instant, she reached the level of a 5th-rank great ruler. As expected, she hid her cultivation. Long Yu's heart trembled. He didn't expect this mysterious woman to hide so deeply. She had reached the level of a 5th-rank great ruler. To him, this was definitely an extremely powerful opponent. In this way, it was not very likely that he would be able to capture the other party alive. Long Yu had to go all out. Boundless Grasp. Long Yu raised his hand and used the Boundless Grasp again. This time, he pulled the other party a little closer. However, he didn't pull her to his side. However, Long Yu didn't have any hesitation. He immediately used the 2nd and 3rd stage of the Boundless Grasp. Power Seal, Space Seal, and Void Piercing Damage. The 3 effects of the Boundless Grasp were instantly activated. The 3rd stage of the Void Piercing Damage of the Boundless Grasp was equivalent to Long Yu's previous Void Piercing kill. It could directly penetrate the opponent's body and destroy the core of the opponent's strength. In this way, Long Yu felt the power of the Boundless Grasp explode at the other party's chest. This made Long Yu's heart tremble. If she was a human cultivator, the core of the opponent's strength would definitely be at the dantian near the lower abdomen. However, the other party's strength was at the chest. It could be seen that she was definitely not a human cultivator. As for what race of cultivator she was, Long Yu couldn't be sure. However, it was already very likely that this mysterious woman was a member of the Ice God clan spy team. She was hiding in Jiangxia City, waiting for an opportunity to control the entire city. If she succeeded, it would be an extremely dangerous matter. Fortunately, Long Yu arrived in time and should be able to stop the other party's plan. The Boundless Grasp's power exploded within the other party's body, but it didn't cause much damage. After all, the other party was already a powerful 5th-stage sovereign. Her martial realm was 3 stages higher than Long Yu's, and her basic strength alone was 20 to 30 times stronger than Long Yu's. Therefore, even if Long Yu used the Boundless Grasp, a high-grade unbounded grasp, he couldn't seriously injure the other party in one go. Immediately afterward, the other party's body suddenly exploded with ice divine characters, instantly forming 2 ice tentacles. One of the tentacles attacked Long Yu, while the other swept towards Moonsong. This mysterious woman actually wanted to take on 2 of them at once. Moonsong was currently holding off the 4 princes of Jiangxia. When she saw the situation, she immediately raised her hand, and the power of the Star Divine characters instantly condensed. Star River Waterfall. She used the 10th stage awakening skill of her Divine Absolute beginning rank awakening skill. The power of the Star Divine characters poured down like a waterfall, directly drowning the ice tentacles. After all, she was now a 4th stage sovereign, and her basic strength wasn't too far off from the mysterious woman's. She easily blocked the attack with one move. Long Yu, on the other hand, was a lot more graceful. With a thought, he became incorporeal, and in the next moment, he appeared behind the mysterious woman. Berserker Fist Cannon. Under the effects of Berserker God's Descent, the power of Long Yu's Berserker Fist Cannon had increased by more than 10 times. At this moment, the Berserker Fist Cannon came out of nowhere, and the mysterious woman couldn't dodge in time. She was punched in the back, and her entire body was sent flying, slamming into the wall of the VIP room. Without any pause, Long Yu directly formed dozens of primordial desolate afterimages. Berserker Fist Cannon. The Berserker Fist Cannon instantly filled the entire VIP room. These primordial desolate afterimages hit whoever they could, including the 4 princes of Jiangxia and the mysterious woman. All 5 of them took quite a few hits from the Berserker Fist Cannon. Of course, the power of the primordial desolate afterimages Berserker Fist Cannon was not strong, but after such a wave, Long Yu's body was instantly stacked with 20 layers of Berserker Fist Cannon. As Long Yu's compatibility with the Berserker Fist Cannon had reached level 10, the destructive power displayed by the Berserker Fist Cannon was much stronger than before. Even though it was only 20 layers of Berserker Fist Cannon, it had the same effect as the previous 70 or 80 layers of Berserker Fist Cannon. Immediately after, Long Yu's figure flashed and directly punched the mysterious woman. In an instant, the Berserker Divine runes erupted. Once again, a layer of ice-cold, divine runes appeared on the mysterious woman's body. However, it was shattered into pieces by Long Yu's punch. In the next instant, countless icicles shot towards Long Yu. The punch with 20 layers of Berserker Fist Cannon was still unable to hurt the mysterious woman. Long Yu immediately raised his hand, and the Berserker Divine runes condensed all over his body, forming a Berserker Fist Cannon. The countless ice cones landed on the Berserker Fist Cannon, causing the Berserker Fist Cannon to instantly crumble. It seemed like it would not be able to resist for long. In the next moment, the mysterious woman seemed to have seen through Long Yu's method of turning into nothingness, or perhaps she was somewhat afraid of this method. Therefore, a wisp of ice aura quietly invaded Long Yu's body. Long Yu didn't sense anything until the aura of the frigid ice divine characters completely invaded his body. However, the aura of the frigid ice divine characters didn't cause any harm to him. Clearly, it was just a mark. As long as this wisp of ice aura was in his body, no matter where he ran, the other party would immediately be able to find his location. Even if Long Yu used the method of turning into nothingness, the other party would not need to make any deductions to find his location. This was equivalent to restricting one of Long Yu's life-saving methods. I have to end this quickly. Long Yu knew very well that his strongest killing move was still the Berserker Fist Cannon. As for the Grade 1 God formation that he had just learned, the real illusion field was only a defensive move. In a battle like this, it would not be very effective, so there was no need to use it. Dozens of desolate antiquity afterimages condensed on the battlefield, and the Berserker Fist Cannon blasted out again. Regardless of whether it was the four princes of Jiangxia or the mysterious woman, they had to face at least 10 berserker fist cannons at the same time. At the same time, Long Yu raised his hand and used the boundless grasp. 3 bursts of power exploded in the mysterious woman's body. This time, the boundless grasp's power tripled, causing a certain degree of damage to the mysterious woman's body. After all, although this woman was at the level of the 5th stage sovereign, her physical body was not particularly strong. It was even weaker than Long Yu's physical body. After being tripled by Long Yu's boundless grasp, she had already suffered serious internal injuries. Immediately after, the berserker fist cannon of the desolate antiquity afterimages landed on her body, drowning her in a storm of berserker divine runes. She was blasted into a corner of the VIP room, as if she could not resist at all. The 4 princes of Jiangxia immediately wanted to turn around and deal with Long Yu, but Moonsong's power of star divine runes trapped them. They could not help at all. Chapter 1486. Long Yu seemed to have the upper hand in his one-on-one battle with the mysterious woman. However, Long Yu knew very well that the other party hadn't even used her full strength yet. For the time being, the mysterious woman had only done one useful thing, and that was to send a strand of icy aura into Long Yu's body. Just this move alone was enough to restrict one of Long Yu's crucial life-saving methods. At this time, the mysterious woman seemed to have been blasted into a corner by countless berserker fists, but she didn't suffer any serious injuries. When she stood up again, he could sense that the mysterious woman's body was finally revealing the aura of a 5th stage ruler expert. Previously, even though the mysterious woman had recovered her cultivation to that of a 5th stage ruler, she seemed to be a bit rusty. But now, the mysterious woman had completely grasped the power of a 5th stage ruler. The power of the icy divine characters unknowingly spread in the area. A few ice flowers quietly bloomed around Long Yu. They emitted a strange, icy aura, causing Long Yu to be extremely vigilant. In the next moment, the ice flowers all exploded, and the power of the icy divine characters surrounded Long Yu's entire body. This should be one of the mysterious woman's innate abilities. From it, Long Yu could indeed sense an aura that didn't belong to a human cultivator. However, he couldn't determine what it was for the time being. He only had time to condense another layer of the berserker heavenly barrier before it was swallowed by the power of the icy divine characters that exploded from the ice flowers. Long Yu only felt a boundless chill coming from all directions, completely drowning him. The outer layer of his physical body was completely frozen by the boundless ice, and then shattered with a loud bang. Even the berserker heavenly barrier wasn't able to block the invasion of the ice. After all, this was an innate ability of a 5th stage ruler. A single divine ability had directly shattered most of Long Yu's physical body, and the remaining portion was also frozen by the ice. Even with the devil dust heart, he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. If the mysterious woman seized the opportunity and continued to destroy the devil dust heart, then Long Yu would truly die here. However, Long Yu trusted Moonsong and chose not to use the 9 Hell Tablet. On one hand, there was no need to use this trump card yet. On the other hand, once the 9 Hell Tablet was activated, they would not be able to leave for a month. The Emergency Academy training mission that they had accepted would be ruined. He was not sure whether the mysterious woman in front of him was a powerhouse of the Ice God Clan spying team. Even if she was, there were more spying teams in other directions. He had to eliminate all of them to complete the mission. When most of Long Yu's physical body was destroyed and frozen by the frigid ice divine runes, Moonsong observed the situation and immediately had a thought. Star Sky Shattering Slash. Moonsong immediately used the divine grade absolute beginning awakening skill of the 11th layer. The power of the star divine runes condensed into a blade of light, and with a loud rumble, it enveloped the mysterious woman who was about to kill Long Yu. The mysterious woman did not expect that Moonsong who was surrounded by the four princes of Jiangxia, would still have the strength to attack her. She was a little surprised, but she still reacted immediately. The frigid ice divine runes condensed into a hexagonal mirror in front of her to block the star sky shattering slash. The two techniques collided with each other. There was a loud bang, and a terrifying shockwave spread in all directions. Finally, a crack appeared on the walls of the entire VIP room. Although the building had been reinforced by the crystal divine runes several times, it would still be destroyed by such a powerful attack. Long Yu's devil dust heart began to beat rapidly. After all, he had comprehended the secret martial arts technique of the mysterious pattern. At this moment, his unparalleled physical body reconstruction speed was displayed. In just a few breaths, Long Yu's physical body was almost completely reconstructed. However, there were still many remnants of the power of the frigid ice divine runes around his body. They were restricting his physical body reconstruction and preventing him from completely recovering. However, while Moonsong was dealing with the four princes of Jiangxia, she was still holding back. At this moment, she was attacking the mysterious woman wave after wave without stopping. She did not seem to be at a disadvantage at all. The mysterious woman immediately felt pressured. When she was dealing with Moonsong and Long Yu, both of them had made her feel very pressured. It was obvious that both of them had the strength to defeat her. This made her heart waver. Perhaps this battle would have to be fought in a different way. There was, of course, a reason why no one had come to this luxurious restaurant after fighting for so long. The entire VIP room of the restaurant was completely shielded from the outside world. No matter how serious the situation was, no one would come in and disturb them unless the person inside opened the door of the room themselves. Now, the mysterious woman felt that she could not take it anymore. She immediately made up her mind to ask the people of the restaurant for help. It wasn't that she couldn't resist Moonsong. The main problem was that she couldn't completely eliminate Long Yu. Moreover, Long Yu was clearly in the process of rapidly recovering. This made her a little flustered. Once Long Yu completely recovered and joined forces with Moonsong, she definitely wouldn't be a match for the two of them. The four princes of Jiangxia weren't considered weak. However, they were like small fries in front of Moonsong. Furthermore, Moonsong was clearly much younger than the four princes of Jiangxia. As for Long Yu, he was merely a second-stage sovereign, yet he was able to fight against her, a fifth-stage sovereign. Where on earth did these two freaks come from? The mysterious woman already had an idea of what was going on. Therefore, she wanted to end the battle quickly and get rid of Long Yu and Moonsong as soon as possible. This was to prevent any accidents from happening. After all, she had been in Jiangxia City for some time now. In Jiangxia City, she could be considered to have her own strength. Moreover, she had already taken control of the four princes of Jiangxia. This made her overall strength extremely tyrannical in Jiangxia City. She didn't need to use her own strength to fight against Long Yu and Moonsong head-on. Just as Long Yu was about to fully recover, the mysterious woman opened the door of the luxurious private room. It could be seen that a group of powerful people had already gathered outside the door. They were already prepared to deal with any possible situation that might occur in the private room. Now that the door was opened, they were shocked to see that there were people fighting in the private room. This was because the four young masters of Jiangxia were in this private room. No matter what happened to any one of them, the situation of the entire Jiangxia city would change drastically. Therefore, when they saw that the four princes of Jiangxia were in the middle of a fight, the group of hired thugs outside the private room immediately got ready to take action. Their target was, of course, the same as the four princes of Jiangxia, which was Long Yu and Moonsong. After all, Long Yu and Moonsong had never appeared in front of them before. It was obvious that they had snuck into the private room to ambush and assassinate them. Kill. The dozen hired thugs from the restaurant were all at the third or fourth stage dominator rank. Such a force could definitely be considered as one of the strongest security forces in the entire Jiangxia city. The person leading them was even a powerful sixth stage dominator rank existence. At this moment, they all swarmed forward to attack Moonsong, who was the closest to them. At this time, Moonsong waved her hand and directly placed a medal in front of these people. I believe you all recognize this. This is a first-class honor medal. The commissioner is in the middle of an official business. Unauthorized personnel, please step back. When this first-class honor medal appeared, the hired thugs were all stunned. They had never seen such an item in their lives, but they had all heard of its existence. Moreover, they could clearly feel the aura of a demigod powerhouse on this first-class honor medal. Even the mysterious woman was surprised that Moonsong was able to produce such an item. She did not seem to know what it was, but she could sense the aura of a demigod powerhouse on it. She immediately knew that it was something similar to a medallion among humans. Seeing it was equivalent to seeing a demigod powerhouse in person. They had to obey their orders or something like that. Her eyes swiveled around, and an idea immediately occurred to the mysterious woman. Seeing how the hired thugs had actually stopped, the mysterious woman thought of something. Young Master North Moon of the Four Princes of Jiangxia roared out furiously. What are you waiting for? These people are actually bold enough to assassinate the Four Princes of Jiangxia. This first-class honor medal must be fake. Otherwise, why would they attack us? If you're not going to do it, then I'll do it. Young Master North Moon roared out furiously. As he roared, endless power from the divine glyphs condensed around him, and he directly charged towards Moonsong. From the looks of it, he actually wanted to self-destruct. This left the hired thugs of the restaurant in utter shock. Young Master Bei, you had actually gone as far as self-destructing. He wanted to kill the woman? If young Master North Moon really did self-destruct in the restaurant, they would definitely be in deep trouble. The North Moon clan would never allow such a luxurious restaurant to continue existing. After all, the North Moon clan was definitely one of the strongest organizations in Jiangxia City. If young Master North Moon self-destructed, it would be an earth-shaking matter across the entire Jiangxia City. It would definitely lead to a bloodbath. And the first to bear the brunt of it was this restaurant. This made the hired thugs panic. In particular, the leader of the hired thugs with the cultivation of a six-phase ruler. Without even thinking about it, he yelled out furiously, "Young Master North Moon, please wait a moment. We'll capture this person and interrogate her properly first. Since her first-class honor medal is fake, that's a great crime." It was young Master North Moon who had said that anyway. Even if the people from the battlefield army came looking for them, young Master North Moon would take the blame. There is no need for hired thugs like them to take the blame. Right now, they only needed to do as young Master North Moon said, and they would be spared from trouble themselves. When the hired thugs all took action, Moonsong could not help but frown. Seeing how young Master North Moon's self-destruction had turned the situation around once again, she really did find this to be rather troublesome. The mysterious woman had controlled the Four Princes of Jiangxia. Killing her did not seem to be that easy. Chapter 1487. There was no need to doubt the deterrent power of a first-class honor badge. However, it was just far too rare after all. Most people only knew about first-class honor badges from hearsay, so their effects were limited. Most importantly, young Master North Moon had stated that the first-class honor badge was a fake, so there was even less of a need for the hired thugs to worry. It was young Master North Moon who had said it anyway. Even if someone from above blamed someone, it would be young Master North Moon who would take the blame. It would have nothing to do with them. To these hired thugs, young Master North Moon was someone who was closer to their lives. He was someone who could influence their lives in a decisive manner. As a result, they had to listen to young Master North Moon. In comparison, the deterrent power of a first-class honor badge obviously paled in comparison. The dozen or so hired thugs all charged into the room, wanting to attack Moonsong. The situation immediately became extremely disadvantageous to Long Yu and Moonsong. I need to finish this as soon as possible. When Long Yu saw how Moonsong was going to stop the thugs for him, he immediately gritted his teeth. He knew he had to finish off the mysterious woman as soon as possible, or it was very likely for something to happen to Moonsong. Moonsong could stop the four young masters of Jiangxia and the hired thugs alone, but she could not last for very long. Long Yu condensed a primordial blur once again and constantly fired berserker fist cannons at the mysterious woman, throwing punch after punch. She constantly condensed a barrier of frigid divine glyphs to block it, but unbeknownst to her, this just happened to be an opportunity for Long Yu to layer on berserker fist cannons. Boundless grasp. Long Yu did not stop. After condensing the primordial blur, he used the boundless grasp himself. Now, the mysterious woman would no longer be pulled over by the limitless grasp. However, the power within her body would still be sealed. Moreover, the limitless grasp that Long Yu had unleashed was 4 times more powerful than before. As a result, Long Yu immediately used the second and third sections of the boundless grasp. A tyrannical power of the Enlightenment Level 9 Nether Divine characters erupted from the core of the mysterious woman's power. It was really near her chest and not near her lower abdomen, which made Long Yu even more certain that this mysterious woman was definitely not a human cultivator. As long as I force her to reveal her true appearance, the situation will naturally be reversed, Long Yu thought in his heart. With his Berserker Heaven power finally stacked to the 30th level, coupled with the effect of the Berserker God's descent, the power of his Berserker God rune had already increased by 40 times. Adding on to the fact that he had reached the 10th level of compatibility with the Berserker God rune, his punch was extremely terrifying. Long Yu closed in, raised his hand, and unleashed the 9 Nether Sphere. When the 9 Nether Sphere appeared, countless 9 Nether Divine runes condensed into intertwining lines, entangling the mysterious woman, the 4 young masters of Jiangxia, and the hired thugs of the restaurant. The sphere of 9 hells floated in the middle of the room, emitting endless 9 hells lines to restrict the opponent's movements. As for Long Yu, he took this opportunity to throw a punch at the mysterious woman's body. When a mysterious woman was entangled by the 9 underworld sphere, she had covered her entire body with a defensive barrier of ice attribute divine runes. Unfortunately, in the eyes of the current Long Yu, this barrier was completely unable to withstand his attacks. First, the limitless grasp's power exploded in the mysterious woman's body. Then, Long Yu accumulated 40 times the power of the Berserker's divine rune. When his fist landed on her body, she was instantly sent flying and crashed into the wall of the VIP room, creating several cracks on the wall. The entire VIP room finally couldn't take it anymore. However, this wasn't enough to stop Long Yu's actions. Long Yu's heart trembled when he saw the ice attribute divine glyphs revolving around the mysterious woman's body. She was actually using the ice attribute divine glyphs to heal herself. He could more or less confirm that this woman was the expert from the Ice God Clan spy team. Apart from the Ice God Clan, no one else could use the ice attribute divine glyphs to heal themselves. As for the Ice God Clan, their bodies were made of ice. Naturally, they could use the ice attribute divine glyphs to heal themselves. Unfortunately, apart from Long Yu and Moonsong, none of the restaurant hired thugs could see this. They were still using their own techniques to try and subdue Moonsong. Unfortunately, Moonsong had more techniques than all of them combined. She had the strength to fight against a 6-stage sovereign expert. How could she be subdued by these hired thugs? Even the leader of the hired thugs was only a 6-stage sovereign. He did not personally make a move because he felt that a 4th-stage sovereign like Moonsong was not worth his time. Moreover, the young man in the middle was only a 2nd-stage sovereign. He was even less worth his time. This gave Long Yu, Moonsong, and the others the best opportunity. Again, taking advantage of the mysterious woman using the ice attribute divine glyphs to heal herself, Long Yu did not hesitate. He stepped forward and punched at the mysterious woman. The power of the Berserker divine glyphs exploded. Each punch was stronger than the previous. When the mysterious woman saw this, a cold light flashed in her eyes. She raised her hand and executed an innate ability with the attribute of ice divine runes. Countless ice crystals fell from the sky, wanting to bind Long Yu. Unfortunately, the corner of Long Yu's mouth curled up. World Cleansing Soul Mirror. Control techniques were useless against Long Yu. Instead, Long Yu would seize the opportunity. The world-cleansing soul mirror appeared in front of Long Yu. In an instant, the endless ice crystals were reflected back 10 times. The mysterious woman was obviously shocked. She did not expect Long Yu to have such a method. Before she could react, she was completely trapped by the endless ice crystals, forming an ice prison. In the transparent ice prison, the woman still had a shocked expression. She was completely frozen. However, as a member of the ice god race, she was naturally very resistant to the ice attribute divine glyphs. It would not take long for her to break out of the ice prison. Long Yu took the opportunity to close the distance between him and the ice prison. Although this would cause the ice prison to shatter even faster, it would allow him to stack the Berserker's heavenly power even faster. Long Yu had tested the limits before. When the Berserker's heavenly power was stacked to the 100th level, his physical body would not be able to withstand the power. It was still the same now. The increase in the compatibility of the Berserker's heavenly power had strengthened Long Yu's physical body by several times. Although the power of the Berserker's heavenly power had increased, Long Yu could still withstand the 100th level of the Berserker's heavenly power. As the ice prison was bombarded from the inside and outside, cracks quickly appeared. However, in a short period of time, Long Yu's Berserker's heavenly power had been stacked to the 50th level. In addition to the descent of the Berserker's heavenly power, which was automatically increased by nearly 20 levels, Long Yu could now use the Berserker's heavenly power 70 times. Needless to say, such a punch would definitely peel off a layer of skin from the body of any 5th phase Great Ruler. Little Sue do it! When the other party was about to break out of the ice prison, Long Yu temporarily retreated and let the Nether Void Dragon Blade move forward. He used the water-type primordial power to envelop the ice prison and activated Void Burial. In an instant, the water-type primordial power completely enveloped the ice prison. Void Burial's effect was about to explode. However, the Void Burial was limited to a small area by the Nether Void Dragon Blade. Its overall power did not change, but the destructive effect within the area was even more shocking. When a mysterious woman broke free from the ice prison, the Void Burial was also activated. A terrifying power instantly erupted, directly pulling the walls of the private rooms around the mysterious woman into it, and they were sucked into the violent space-time vortex and completely shattered. Some of the cultivators in the private room next door only now realized that there was such an intense battle going on here. The aura shielding effect of the private room was very powerful. It was obvious that the cost of building this restaurant was extremely high. Unfortunately, in the midst of an intense battle, it would eventually be completely destroyed. Isn't that the 4 princes of Jiangxia? Why are they fighting with someone? That's right. I saw that they hooked up with a beautiful woman a few days ago. It seems like someone is making a move on that woman. Isn't that the same as provoking a god? Are they tired of living? How could the 4 princes of Jiangxia let them off so easily? The people in the private room next door were originally very angry. However, when they saw that it was the 4 princes of Jiangxia fighting with someone else, they calmed down. Not only were they not angry, but they also felt that there was a good show to watch. However, as they watched, they felt that something was wrong. How could the 4 princes of Jiangxia work together, be stopped by a beautiful 4th phase Great Ruler? Even the hired thugs of the restaurant couldn't deal with this beauty. Moreover, there was a pitch-black sphere in the middle of the battlefield that was constantly releasing entangling lines that entangled the 4 princes of Jiangxia and the hired thugs of the restaurant. Although it could not completely control them, it was still able to slow their movements. Wasn't the beauty that the 4 princes of Jiangxia hooked up with a 1st phase Great Ruler? How did she become a 5th phase Great Ruler? Moreover, she was actually being suppressed by a 2nd phase Great Ruler youth. Long Yu didn't pay attention to the people in the private room next door. In any case, those people couldn't possibly attack Long Yu. Most of the time, these people were only willing to watch the show and not participate. Otherwise, it was very likely that they would bring trouble to him. Void Burial erupted. Little Void controlled the range of its explosion, causing the explosive power to be even stronger. The mysterious woman, or rather the ice god race, encountered the void burial the moment she came out of the ice prison. She had no chance of dodging and could only face the explosion head-on. Countless ice crystals emitted from the mysterious woman's body, forming layers of defensive barriers around her body. However, they couldn't withstand the explosive power of the void burial. In an instant, the ice crystal barriers shattered, and the mysterious woman was sucked into the void burial vortex. Chapter 1488. The mysterious woman was sucked into the burial void vortex. Longyu didn't think she would die just like that. However, at this moment, something happened that surprised Longyu. He felt that the connection between him and the Netherworld Dragonblade had become even closer. This feeling was something he hadn't felt ever since his fusion with the Netherworld Dragonblade had reached an unparalleled level, resulting in the birth of Little Void Spirit. Longyu was overjoyed. Could it be? Soon he was sure that it was. After such a long time, the Netherworld Dragonblade had finally awakened. Although it was only the first awakening stage, its power had more than doubled. Moreover, an awakening skill was born. However, this awakening skill was neither an offensive nor a defensive method. Instead, it was a passive method that allowed the Nether Void Dragonblade to travel a further distance, almost 3 times its original distance. This allowed Longyu to travel more than 3 times faster. Although it wasn't very useful in battle, it was still a good awakening skill. It was said that the first few awakening skills of a divine grade absolute beginning were passive. Only after reaching the 6th awakening stage would some active skills appear, such as attack or defense. Every divine grade absolute beginning was different. After the Nether Void Dragonblade awakened to the first layer, its power had doubled. With a thought from Longyu, it continuously pierced through the void and shot towards the mysterious woman. Void piercing was a skill that condensed water-type absolute beginning power into sharp spatial blades that could penetrate the opponent's body. The mysterious woman was already injured from the burial void. Now that she was bombarded by the void piercer, she looked extremely miserable. The 4 young masters of Jiangxia were so angry that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Hurry up and get rid of these 2 villains. The 4 of them roared angrily. Finally, the restaurant's leader couldn't hold himself back any longer. He was a 6th phase Great Sovereign. He was prepared to personally attack Moonsong and Longyu. An ominous glint appeared on his face as he charged towards Moonsong. His body was covered in berserk divine runes, and he looked even stronger than Longyu. Longyu had no reason to delay any longer. Looks like it's time to use this method. As Longyu thought to himself, the blood-red meridians in his body finally started beating and expanding. The 8 extremities bloodlines that were originally blocked finally opened automatically after he released the restrictions. Because he had already been fighting for a long time, once he released the restrictions on the 8 extreme bloodline, the 8 extreme bloodline would immediately be able to open. Although this would cause Longyu to lose more than he would gain, and he would need to spend a lot of money to repair the small world, he would just treat it as a first attempt. 3 of the 8 extremities bloodlines were directly opened, instantly allowing the power of the 3 extremities bloodlines to surge throughout his body, increasing his basic strength by more than 2-fold. It was equivalent to the effect of his berserk heavenly power being doubled in an instant. Facing the mysterious woman who was still struggling, Longyu didn't hold back at all. The berserker fist cannon blasted toward her. This punch was the strongest punch Longyu had ever unleashed. Due to the power of the punch, his physical body suffered an extremely strong backlash, causing his entire body to show signs of collapsing. However, when the punch landed on the mysterious woman's body, the mysterious woman did not seem to be able to resist at all and was sent flying. Her entire body seemed to be on the verge of collapsing as blood splattered all over the place. The berserker runes continued to wreak havoc in the mysterious woman's body. Her cultivation of the 5th phase Great Dominator realm didn't make her feel any better. Longyu's current state was almost at the peak he had ever been in his life. The 3 8 extremities bloodlines had doubled his strength. Even though he needed 15 million Legion merit points to make up for the damage he caused in the small world, the effects of the 8 extremities bloodlines were still extremely shocking. These 15 million Legion merit points were definitely worth it. It was imaginable that when Long Yu reached the peak of the 7th phase Great Dominator realm, or even stepped into the demigod realm, wouldn't he be able to surpass almost everyone else if he opened 8 extremities bloodlines? Unfortunately, Long Yu was still a little far from that level. However, this still showed how terrifying the 8 extremities bloodlines were. If I don't recover my true body, I'll be dead. Long Yu thought to himself. His eyes flashed with coldness as he strode in the direction of the mysterious woman. The woman flew and fell to the ground in the private room next door. The spectators in the private room were all 3rd or 4th phase Great Dominators. However, when they saw Long Yu walking over, they could only retreat. One reason was because they did not want to take part in this conflict, and the other reason was because Long Yu's presence was just too terrifying. The power of the Berserker's divine glyphs of Berserk made them feel extremely threatened. Didn't they see how this guy sent a 5th phase ruler beauty flying with a single punch? It could be seen that this guy was definitely not an ordinary person. What are you staring for? Finish him off. At this moment, young Master Northmoon roared out hysterically. He wanted these people to help him take down Long Yu. You should recognize the first-class glory badge. Those who have no business here leave. Long Yu coldly shouted as he swept his gaze over the group of people. As for the first-class honor badge, it had originally been on Moonsong's body. After discovering that it wasn't of much use, she had tossed it back into Long Yu's hands. Now that Long Yu had taken it out, the group of people in front of him immediately became obedient. They didn't dare to move carelessly as they all left the private room, allowing Long Yu to approach the mysterious woman. These people were not simple-minded people like the hired thugs in the restaurant. Which one of them could come to such a luxurious restaurant and rent a private room? Were they not smart people? Even young Master Northmoon would not make them fight against a first-class glory badge. How could challenging the authority of a demigod be that fun? Not to mention that these people could already tell that something was off with the situation, so some of them left silently and rushed toward the office of the battlefield army in Jiangxia City. It was clear with a single glance that they wanted to report the situation and claim credit. As Jiangxia City was within the territory of the Lushan clan, the battlefield army only had a single office. There were not a lot of people stationed there, and they were usually only responsible for managing the battlefield army. However, there were still 7th phase rulers in the office. Now that the conflict was severe, it was very likely for them to receive some rewards if they reported it. The people fighting in the restaurant obviously had no idea about this. Long Yu walked over to the mysterious woman and continued to condense Berserker's divine glyphs of Berserker on his body. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman was covered in blood. She seemed pitiful, as if she had already lost all thoughts of fighting back. She just stared at Long Yu blankly. However, Long Yu obviously would not hold back against her. Just when he was about to strike, a yell rang out from the sky. "Stop! Your person is in our hands. If you dare to touch her, she's dead for sure." During the battle between Long Yu and the mysterious woman, the roof of the luxurious restaurant had already been blasted open. At this moment, everyone raised their heads and saw 2 7th phase rulers from the Northmoon clan. They had actually arrived here with a woman as a hostage. The woman who had been taken hostage happened to be Red Oriole, who had remained in the Northmoon clan. Red Oriole was obviously not their opponent against 7th phase rulers, so she just surrendered herself and was brought here. When she saw Long Yu, she nodded at him secretly, indicating that she was in no danger. Long Yu squinted his eyes. The 2 7th phase rulers seemed to be from the Northmoon clan. Had they come to save young Master Northmoon? But no matter what, they were actually bold enough to take Red Oriole hostage. They had already crossed Long Yu's bottom line. Vanish. Without any hesitation, Long Yu directly turned invisible and leapt to Red Oriole's side in the air with a flash. The force of the world enveloped her and directly sent her into his miniature world. He moved extremely quickly, and he did not give anyone any time to react. He directly saved Red Oriole. By the time the mysterious woman sensed that Long Yu had leapt into the air through the frigid aura, it was clearly already too late. After saving Red Oriole, Long Yu directly returned to where Moonsong was in his incorporeal state. Afterwards, he sent Moonsong into his miniature world as well. Otherwise, Moonsong would face far too much pressure when she faced the leader of the restaurant's thugs, as well as so many other thugs and the 4 young masters of Jiangxia. On the other hand, Long Yu's figure finally appeared once more after he placed them within his minor world. Moreover, he directly utilized the boundless seal and trapped the mysterious woman within it. The current situation was too complicated. If Long Yu wanted to deal with this mysterious woman, he would have to face too many obstructions. Therefore, he could only directly trap this mysterious woman before dragging the realmless seal with him. With one hand, he pulled the realmless seal and flew far away. Our target is this thing. If you want to help the wicked and oppose the army on the battlefield, feel free to chase after us. Long Yu directly took the mysterious woman with him and flew away from the planet. There was only one member of the Ice God clan spy team here, so he could easily take her far away and deal with her later. Unfortunately, it was not as simple as that. After Long Yu took the mysterious woman away, the 4 young masters of Jiangxia all flew into a rage. Young Master Northmoon even directly flew into the air and said to the 2 7th phase rulers of the Northmoon clan, "Grandfather, Father, that guy tried to use devious methods to take over our Northmoon clan. We can't let him get away. How can we let him get away when he's bold enough to cause trouble in our Jiangxia city?" After him, the 7th phase rulers of the Northmoon clan all snorted coldly and chased after where Long Yu had vanished. They directly derived the aura that Long Yu had left behind earlier. Chapter 1489. No one knew that the 4 young masters of Jiangxia had already been controlled. However, even if Long Yu told them this back then, no one would believe him, so he could not be bothered to say anything more. He directly captured the spy from the Ice God clan and left. Very soon, Long Yu used the Nether Dragon Dagger to directly pass through the space beyond the planet, arriving at the barrier in a split second. The Northmoon clan of Jiangxia City was powerful, but they were not powerful enough to affect the entire planet. As a result, the protective barrier of the planet was unable to stop Long Yu's advance. The cultivators from the garrison let him through as soon as they saw the first-class honor badge. They did not delay at all. Afterwards, the power of divination from the 7th grade ruler of the Northmoon clan descended upon Long Yu. After all, Long Yu had left in a hurry earlier, so he could not completely erase his presence that he had left behind. However, at this moment, Red Oriole directly used her secret martial arts technique. It was a powerful technique from the Blood Demon clan, increasing Long Yu's resistance to divination. Just like the light of equalization, which could increase a cultivator's senses by 10 times, Red Oriole's secret martial arts technique could also directly increase a cultivator's resistance to divination by 10 times when it was cultivated to the peak. Without a doubt, when Red Oriole used it like this, it would take even longer for the opponent to divine Long Yu's location, and it would consume even more divination power. Even a 7th grade ruler would not be able to divine Long Yu's location in a short amount of time, let alone the fact that the 2 powerful cultivators from the Northmoon clan were not at the peak of 7th grade ruler. They had only become 7th grade rulers recently. However, both Long Yu and Red Oriole had overlooked one thing. One had to know that they were currently holding the Ice God clan's spy squad by their side. As for the mysterious woman from the Ice God clan's spy squad, Long Yu did not have the ability to directly send her into his micro-world to seal her up. Therefore, under the control of the mysterious woman, the 4 young masters of Jiangxia still clearly knew Long Yu's current location. As a result, very soon, the 4 young masters of Jiangxia led the way and chased after them with the two seventh-grade rulers of the Northmoon clan. However, Long Yu did not care about this. Even if the other party knew his location, so what? Right now, the Nethervoid Dragon Blade had already awakened to the first stage. Although the awakening skill was passive, it increased the distance it could travel through the void by more than 3 times. In an instant, he could travel millions of kilometers. Even a 7th-stage sovereign expert would not be able to catch up to the current Long Yu. Unless the other party had used the space-time imprint that had been marked in advance to carry out the transmission. However, how could the other party be so coincidental as to mark the space-time imprint near the path that Long Yu had taken? Very few people would waste a space-time imprint to mark such a close distance. After all, to a 7th-grade ruler, this was a distance that could be covered in a short amount of time. Long Yu did not care that much. Instead, he was more concerned about the mysterious woman in his hand. He was constantly on guard that she would return to her original form as an ice god. If that happened, it was very likely that she would become a 6th-grade ruler. She should be waiting until she's far enough away from Jiangxia City before returning to her original form. After all, it's impossible for her to reveal the fact that she's an ice god in front of others. Otherwise, the big shots of Jiangxia City's Northmoon clan will definitely turn around and eliminate her, Long Yu thought. From the perspective of the mysterious woman, she only had 2 choices right now. One of them was to try and delay Long Yu's speed so that the people of Jiangxia City could catch up. If that happened, Long Yu definitely would not be the opponent of a 7th-grade ruler. The other choice was to wait until she was far enough away and return to her original form as an ice god. After that, she would directly kill Long Yu. As for where she would go after killing him, there was no need to pay attention to it. In any case, she could not return to Jiangxia City. After all, the fact that Long Yu could find Jiangxia City meant that someone in the human race had already noticed his existence. These 2 choices would depend on whether or not the 7th-grade ruler of Jiangxia City could catch up. However, looking at the situation right now, it seemed rather uncertain. As a result, Long Yu was prepared to wait until he was far enough away before the mysterious woman suddenly transformed into a 6th-grade ruler and attacked him. Once something like that happened, Long Yu would be able to react immediately, very soon, as Long Yu constantly used spatial transference. The spatial nether dragon dagger took him extremely far away. He was already several 100 million kilometers away from the planet that Jiangxia City was on earlier in the blink of an eye. Even the 7th-grade ruler of Jiangxia City's Northmoon clan would not be able to catch up. This was because apart from Long Yu, even the powerhouses of Jiangxia City's Northmoon clan would need a period of time to apply and be approved if they wanted to pass through the defensive barrier outside the planet and leave. After spending some time in that place, it would be impossible for them to catch up to Long Yu. Right now, Long Yu's surroundings were completely empty. There was nothing around him. From afar, he could see the origin of the divine runes closest to him, but it was already the size of a firefly. It was not much different from the stars in the distance. Now that he had arrived here, Long Yu was certain that the people of the Northmoon clan would not be able to catch up to him. It's about time I'm exposed. Just as Long Yu was thinking about this, the mysterious woman that he had sealed with the boundless seal, who seemed to be seriously injured and on the verge of death, suddenly erupted with the power of ice divine runes, instantly shattering the boundless seal. Afterwards, an existence that resembled a hexagonal crystal shot out from the mysterious woman's body. A 6th-grade ruler. Long Yu was already prepared. He retreated a certain distance without any hesitation before sending Red Oriole and Moon Song out of the miniature world. Just do it and finish him off, Long Yu bellowed. He raised his hand and unleashed the Boundless Grasp. The Boundless Grasp condensed from the Heaven-tier divine runes of 9 serenities directly grabbed the ice god. Afterwards, a powerful sealing power blocked the flow of power within his body, preventing him from using any techniques for the time being. Although the difference in cultivation between Long Yu and the ice god was too great, and the Boundless Grasp sealing effect on his power was very weak, it could still seal him for a split second. That split second was already enough. Demonic Shadowbind. Red Oriole unleashed a high-grade, unbounded martial skill right after that. She had already cultivated this move to perfection, and if she advanced one more step, she would be able to transcend. Unfortunately, she was still unable to reach that level for now. However, despite this, when she used this technique, countless blood-red, monstrous aura emanated from her body, forming countless chains of monstrous aura that completely locked down the Ice God race ruler. The Ice God quickly broke free from Long Yu's boundless grasp, but was immediately bound by the boundless chains of demonic Shadowbind. He had no chance to dodge or move, and the power within his body was completely sealed by the blood-red demonic chi. This sealing technique was even stronger than Long Yu's boundless grasp. Most importantly, Red Oriole was 2 levels higher than Long Yu in the martial path, which was why it had such a shocking effect. Starry Space Shattering Slash. While the Ice God was trapped by the Shadowbind, Moon Song did not waste any time. She immediately unleashed her awakening skill of the Divine Absolute, beginning rank 11 awakening skill, Starry Sky Breaking Slash. The power of the stars instantly condensed into a space-breaking blade and slashed at the Ice God's head. Under the binding of the blood-red Yao Qi, the Ice God could only watch as the star slashed through the air towards its body. However, it still had a way to deal with it. It suddenly unleashed a burst of frigid ice force, slightly dispelling the blood-red Yao Qi binding its body. Immediately after, his position slightly deviated and the star-breaking sky slash directly cut off a corner of his body. However, it did not cause any serious injuries. Clearly, he had just barely avoided a vital point. Then, the power of the Ice Divine text enveloped the Ice God's body, and the edges and corners of its body that had been cut off began to recover. Long Yu could tell that it was a method to reconstruct the body, so he immediately took action. Berserk God's Walk. Berserk Fist Cannon. Long Yu used 2 moves in a row. At this moment, although he had been running for a while, he still maintained the power of nearly 100 layers of Berserk God's runes. After using these 2 moves, he instantly punched the Ice God's body. The Ice God had never expected that a little guy in the 2nd stage Great Sovereign Realm would dare to attack him after he had transformed into a 6th stage Great Sovereign Realm existence. Caught off guard, the Ice God's body was hit by the fist. Several cracks appeared on the Ice God's hexagonal crystal body. The power of the Berserk God's runes invaded the Ice God's body and continued to wreak havoc. Long Yu was also pushed back by the power of the Ice God's runes. The power of ice corroded Long Yu's body. However, Long Yu did not hesitate at all. He directly blew up the part of his body that was corroded by the cold energy. Then, he relied on the Devil Dust Heart to reconstruct it. Such a method was practically unimaginable for ordinary people. Even Red Oriole and Moonsong hadn't expected Long Yu to be so decisive. If Long Yu didn't detonate the parts of his body that had been corroded by the cold air would likely spread to his entire body. If that happened, the Demon Dust Heart would also be corroded, and that wouldn't be fun. If it were anyone else, not only would they not be so decisive, but they would also lose a lot of their combat strength. However, Long Yu didn't have such concerns. This was because the part of his body that he had self-destructed had been reconstructed in the span of a few breaths. One must know that there were dozens of mysterious patterns imprinted in his mind, increasing the speed at which the Demon Dust Heart's body was reconstructed. In 3 breaths' time, the reconstruction of the body was completed, and Long Yu immediately punched out. Berserk Fist Cannon. With nearly 100 layers of Berserk heavenly power and 3 8 extreme bloodlines, Long Yu's body couldn't withstand the power of this punch, and it started to show signs of collapse. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.